Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 621, A Group of Shocked Chicks. Chapter 621, A Group of Shocked Chicks. BZZZ. BZZZ. Right now, Lin Fan was seated on a stool that was carved out of a piece of rock. He was wielding a metal fork in his hands that he had casually crafted out. However, what he did not expect was that these metal forks that were created from a few pieces of metal were in fact supreme-graded human weapons. This was something that he could never have imagined. Seemed like his weapon crafting skills were getting stronger with time. At this moment above a bonfire, a few pieces of dragon meat were being roasted to a beautiful golden brown shade. By the looks of it, it did seem pretty delicious. While Lin Fan was waiting for the meat to be cooked, he stretched out his fingers in boredom and poked at the dragon's blood that was spilled on the floor, turning into a mini river by now. Ding! Congratulations on discovering dragon's blood. Absorb. Absorb. Ding! Eternal God Body Experience Points +1. Ding! Eternal God Body Experience Points +1. ... Holy FCK. This little experience points. That's trashy enough, isn't it? Lin Fan was completely contemptuous of this and took back his finger. Based on the books that he had read in the library, the dragon's blood was a tonic that could nourish one's body immensely with all sorts of mythical effects. If one were to bathe in a pool of dragon's blood, they would definitely be able to strengthen their bodies. In fact, their innate potential might even be increased through that. Lin Fan shook his head. Seemed like the books had thoroughly exaggerated the effects of the dragon's blood. To think that it would truly be this trash now that he had come across it personally. This was pretty disappointing to be honest. This dragon's blood that was highly valued by the beings of the thousands of races was dismissed by Lin Fan just like that and cast aside into the realm of uselessness. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that there were a bunch of living beings were rushing towards his direction. Divine Celestial Level 1, True State. Desolate Celestial Full Cultivation State. Azure Celestial Upper Level State. N-O-Vel-B in .C Ohm. ... So weak. Lin Fan shook his head and wasn't concerned in the least bit. As long as they didn't bother him, he wouldn't care about them at all. At this moment, a delicious aroma came at Lin Fan's face. It had been a long time since he had had something to eat. Therefore, his appetite was definitely raring to go right now. At this moment, somewhere not too far away, a group of figures was fumbling really rapidly. They seemed to be panicking, as though they were hiding from something. Those ancient race beings, what if they were to discover us? Sisters, we've got to hurry up. We must definitely not let those ancient race beings catch up to us. Otherwise, our outcomes will definitely be catastrophic. Damn it, I hate this. I hate the fact that I'm this weak and incapable of protecting everyone. This group of figures was composed of females. Each one of them was extremely ravishing in looks, absolutely breathtaking. Every single motion and action they made were enough to seduce the hearts of every single living thing in this world. Within this group of females, there was a particular female disciple who was the prettiest of them all. Her strength was also the strongest amongst them, presumably their leader. However, at this moment, her nerves were pretty much in a wreck as she cast her head back from time to time. She knew how dire the consequences would be if they were caught by the ancient race beings. Not only would they be trampled on by those ancient race beings, they would be devoured eventually as well. Hey girls, are y'all smelling this tantalizing aroma? Suddenly, a girl with a sharp pair of eyes spoke up at this moment. Ziyun, what sort of a time is this for you to still be thinking about food? The strongest girl lectured her immediately. To think that Ziyun would still be concerned about delicious food at this critical moment. I'm smelling it too, that's right, this aroma is really way too succulent. At this moment, this group of females who were in the midst of being chased exchanged glances with one another. They did not know where this aroma was coming from. Elder sister Piao Piao. Take a look over there. There's someone there. Ziyun with the sharp gaze pointed at the distance with her tender fingers. Piao Piao turned her sight over. Indeed, there was a man seated there in the distance. Lin Fan turned his head around and looked at these approaching girls. His eyes shone with a strange glint. What the hell were a bunch of beautiful women doing in such a dangerous forest? Lin Fan grabbed onto a piece of dragon meat and chewed it slowly. He then looked over at the masses and smiled. There's a bunch of ancient race beings chasing after us. You had better hurry up and run too. Even though Piao Piao did not know who this person was, she could tell that he should be a being of the thousands of races by the looks of it, hence the careful reminder from her. Oh, I see. By the way, do you guys want to eat some dragon meat? Lin Fan replied indifferently. The moment Piao Piao heard this, her face changed. She then gritted her teeth and didn't reply. After all, she had said what she had to. Since this guy didn't want to listen, then he couldn't blame them if anything happened to him. But just at this moment, what Piao Piao had not expected was that her younger sister Ziyun would end up stopping instead and stand before this man. I'll eat it. Looking at this girl before him, Lin Fan smiled. What a smart lass. Ziyun, what are you doing? Piao Piao screamed in a frantic tone. Elder sister, that colossal dragon ahead of you is way too scary. I'm afraid, I don't dare to head over. Ziyun replied with a tone that harbored a hint about something. Colossal dragon? What colossal dragon? Piao Piao was stunned, not understanding what Ziyun was talking about. However, when she turned her head around and looked ahead of her, she was stumped on the spot. There was a gigantic carcass of a colossal dragon that was split into parts lying right there. That malevolent head of the colossal dragon was extremely imposing. Even if it were dead right now, the aura that was being emanated from it was extremely gut-smashing. Was this truly a colossal dragon? Then what was this? Piao Piao stared at the barbecued meat in the man's hands blankly. You guys seem as though you must be really tired from running now. How about coming over to enjoy some meat? That'll help you replenish your energy. Lin Fan grinned. Even though he did not know who they were beings of the thousands of races as well. Since he was here, he might as well give them a bit of help as well. All of these chicks were stunned one by one. After that, they headed over slowly like the first lass. Hello. Piao Piao came before Lin Fan. For a moment, she did not know what to say. Hello. Lin Fan smiled casually. Oh, please have a seat wherever you'd like. After that, as though they had yet to react to this fact, the group of people circled the bonfire and sat down. It's all right. Eat heartily. If the ancient race beings were to catch up, let them be then. There's no need to be this nervous. Lin Fan smiled. Lin Fan was a man after all. Even though he was always chaste usually, how could he allow this bunch of beautiful girls to be scared witless by a bunch of ancient race beings? That would have them lose all of their aesthetics entirely. Yup, we're not nervous. Ziyun was pretty lively as her gaze swept around the surroundings. She had already realized that that was a true blue colossal dragon right there. Furthermore, the shocking thing was that the dragon's blood was spilled on the ground so wastefully. All of those plants and grass touched by the dragon's blood had already started to change, and were now way more flourishing than their counterparts nearby who had not received the nourishment from the dragon's blood. In fact, they could almost be medicinal spirit grass by now. Come, have a piece of dragon meat. Lin Fan handed over a piece of meat. Thank you. Even though Ziyun was still immersed in the state of being hunted down, she had calmed down by a fair bit now. However, when she touched the metal fork in her hands, she gasped out an exclamation. This. Ziyun looked at Lin Fan with an extremely flabbergasted face. She then stared at the metal fork in her hands with a stoned expression, unable to believe everything before her eyes. Even though Piao Piao knew what her younger sister was planning, she was still pretty nervous nevertheless. After all, the ancient race beings were still right behind them. Even though this man was mysterious and seemed pretty strong, there was still no guarantee that he would definitely be able to take them down. Just as Piao Piao was contemplating about this issue, she was taken aback by that exclamation from her younger sister. Ziyun, what's with you? Piao Piao looked at Ziyun, startled. The other young ladies in the area were the same. They sat down pretty restlessly, extremely frightened. Elder sister, this. Ziyun held on to the metal fork in her hands. She wanted to say something, but her throat was stuck in disbelief at this moment. Chapter 622. To think that there are more experience points. Chapter 622. To think that there are more experience points. Lin Fan looked at this lively chick with a puzzled glance as his brows creased. Did this chick have some sort of a problem in her head? This metal fork, Ziyun could not believe that they would be using a supreme-graded human weapon just for barbecuing meat. Wasn't this too wasteful? Oh, that's just a supreme-graded human weapon, isn't it? Do you have to react so wildly over it? Noticing that the chick was talking about the metal fork, Lin Fan chuckled out casually, completely unconcerned about it at all. It was a mere supreme-graded human weapon. What was there to be shocked about? However, coming to think of it, the beings of the thousands of races did not have many treasures with them. That would make it understandable for these chicks, who were on the weaker side of things, to have it extremely difficult for them to obtain any treasure on their own. Piao Piao was stunned at this moment as well as she cast her gaze on the metal fork. To think that this plain-looking metal fork would be a supreme-graded human weapon. In order to verify this fact, Piao Piao went to touch it with her fingers personally. Instantly, she could feel the surge of energy that was cruising through it. Highs. Lin Fan sighed helplessly. Seemed like even if he didn't want to act out, he still managed to get the panties of these chicks in a bunch indirectly. This was truly unexpected. He had just casually crafted these supreme-graded human weapons. They weren't even anything good to begin with. But, each of these chicks let out a look of wanting to get it yet being completely helpless. Looking at their dilemma, Lin Fan could not help but chuckle out in his heart. This meat is good, isn't it? Once we're done with it, you guys can have the metal forks as well. Lin Fan waved his hands dismissively. These words came across to the ears of these chicks as though this man couldn't give a sh*t about these metal forks. Piao Piao, Ziyun, and the others looked at Lin Fan in shock. They then tried their best to repress this feeling of excitement as they wielded the metal forks with trembling hands. As long as they were to finish the meat, this person was going to give them the metal forks. This was something that they could have never ever imagined in their lives. Ziyun opened her mouth and started with a gentle bite on the meat. To these chicks here, their greatest goal right now was to finish all of the meat. Just as Ziyun placed the meat into her mouth, her face changed suddenly. Her aura began to rise steadily. This meat, the only thing on Ziyun's mind right now was the metal fork. However, upon swallowing her first bite of the dragon's meat, she was completely dumbfounded. That was because as she chewed down on the piece of meat, she realized the endless amount of power that was being released from it. As these powers entered her body along with the meat, they were converted into a long river of energy that rampaged around her body. Piao Piao looked at Ziyun, who was changing right now, in astonishment. Without any hesitation, she then chomped down on her piece of dragon meat. The transformations that happened were exactly the same as Ziyun. Without waiting any further, all the surrounding chicks chomped down on their own meats as well. One by one, their faces changed as they revealed looks of disbelief. At this moment, even Lin Fan was stunned. Did these chicks really have a problem in their heads? Wasn't this just some meat that they were eating? Did they have to give off such an expression? Was there truly a need for this? Even though Lin Fan was a divine celestial level 4, undying state being, the powers within his body were as vast as the boundless seas. Therefore, the power that was contained within this dragon's meat was extremely negligible for him. However, for these weak chicks, a single piece of dragon's meat was akin to swallowing a godly elixir. Ziyun, your cultivation state, you've leveled up. Elder sister, I've broken through. They've broken through too. Why does this dragon meat possess such a strong amount of power? In order for one's meat to obtain an effect as such, one has to at least be a divine celestial level 4, undying state powerful being. That's the only way its powers can be infused into every single part of its body like this. The mass group of chicks looked at one another furtively, each of them revealing a look of disbelief. Ziyun looked at Lin Fan in utter shock, so much so that her words were starting to stammer. Oh, you guys have a keen eye for things. The cultivation state of this dragon was indeed a divine celestial level 4, undying state. Lin Fan chuckled. Lin Fan had not expected the meat of this colossal dragon to give these chicks this much of a buff. Upon receiving Lin Fan's response, all the chicks were utterly flabbergasted. To think that they would be able to get a taste of the meat of a colossal dragon of divine celestial level 4, undying state in all their years of living. This wasn't something they could have ever imagined. Instantly, the group of chicks turned their gazes towards that river of blood that was spilled on the ground. Could that be the dragon's blood of the divine celestial level 4, undying state colossal dragon too? Legend has it that the blood of the old ancient beast colossal dragon race is able to strengthen one's constitution. There's even a chance for one's innate potential to be increased. This is especially the case for colossal dragons who are stronger. The effects would increase along with their strength. Just as these chicks were going to indulge in their urges to leap forth and have a taste of that dragon's blood for themselves, a growl came forth from the distance. Ha ha, to think that you guys would stop running. Now, this does save us some effort. These ravishing living beings of the succubus race are indeed blessed by the heavens. Each and every one of them looks extremely petite and beautiful. Not only that, their bodies are tender and their scent is extremely nice. Come on, run, why aren't you guys running anymore? Is it because you guys are too tired to run? These nefarious taunts came from all directions. They were relentless and fearsome, bringing with them a might that caused one to shiver at the sound of them. To these beings of the thousands of races, the ancient race was akin to an envoy of the devil himself. Horrifying, cruel, bloodthirsty, without a single strain of humanity. The ancient race is here. The moment these chicks heard the sounds of the ancient race, they could not help but break out in cold sweat and exchange glances with one another in fright. The ancient race beings had finally caught up. If this were the case, it meant that their relatives must have already been slain by these ancient race beings. The thought of this had their entire faces filled with immense anguish. Lin Fan sat there in a relaxed manner and looked at these figures that were approaching from the distance. The ancient race beings had a big build. Each of them was like a small mountain of their own. Their auras were even more imposing with the way they walked. The pitch-black skin and baleful faces were extremely terrifying to begin with. Some of the weaker beings of the thousands of races could even be shocked into screaming just at the sight of these ancient race beings alone. Just like that, a few hundred ancient race beings appeared before Lin Fan's group. To think that there's an additional living being. The moment an ancient race being caught sight of Lin Fan, his mouth left out a cruel grin. However, he didn't think much of Lin Fan at all. Looking at these ancient race beings, Lin Fan too did not have much interest in them. Their cultivation states weren't all that high. Even the highest amongst them was only a divine celestial level 3, paradise state being. N-O-V-L-B in .C Ohm. Ziyun, Piao Piao. At this moment, there was a cage with countless females within them that laid in the midst of these ancient race beings. Amongst these women, some of them were old while others were younger. Evidently, they hadn't managed to escape at all, and were eventually rounded up by these ancient race beings. The moment Ziyun and Piao Piao heard these voices, their faces changed immediately as they let out a look of glee. At least their relatives hadn't been killed by these ancient race beings just yet. Ha ha ha, don't get anxious now. You guys will be able to have a reunion real soon. An ancient race being laughed mercilessly as his eyes shone with a vicious glow. Don't bother saving us. Hurry up and run. You guys are no match for these ancient race beings. Furthermore, there are more ancient race beings at the back. Looking at how Ziyun and the others had yet to make their way out, those of the succubus race who had been locked up were starting to get anxious as well. In this group right here, the leader of the ancient race beings was only that of a divine celestial level 3, paradise state being. However, in the army that was coming forth, there would be stronger ancient race beings there. Ever since the new sovereign King Wei had taken the seat, he had turned even more berserk. Activating his gigantic army, he went on a massacre of the beings of the thousands of races. The moment Lin Fan heard from these succubus race beings that there were even more ancient race beings coming forth from the back, his heart was filled with joy as he stood up immediately. To think that he would get this lucky. The heavens must really be shining on him. Yet another big lump of experience points was sending their own asses up his doorsteps. Taking a step forth, Lin Fan walked towards the ancient race beings. Catching sight of Lin Fan's actions, Ziyun and the others felt their hearts feeling conflicted as well. This was especially the case for Ziyun. The first time she laid her eyes on this man, she had already known that he was far from ordinary. However, she wondered if he would be a match for these ancient race beings. To these ancient race beings, this man who was walking towards them was simply just courting death. But since that was the case, it was good as well. It would save them some trouble. Ant-like living being, go to hell, the leader of the ancient race beings hollered and grabbed out at Lin Fan's brains. Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders and gave off a chuckle as he pointed gently with his finger. That single action had everyone shuddering in shock after that. Chapter 623, an entrance that is highly dependent on its impact. Chapter 623, an entrance that is highly dependent on its impact. You guys are simply way too weak. In terms of cultivation state, divine celestial level 4, undying state might not put Lin Fan as a heaven-defying being just yet, but if they were to compare in terms of brute strength, even a divine celestial level 5, essence spirit state being might not have even 10% of Lin Fan's strength. This was even before considering the fact that Lin Fan's physical body state was now that of a divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state being. Right now, Lin Fan was akin to a boss with an extremely high defense. Most commoners would definitely not be able to take him down at all. Courting death. The moment the ancient race being caught sight of this living being pointing out with his finger so casually, he was thoroughly enraged. He slammed out with a punch in return. Containing his paradise within this punch, the powers were boundless and gushing. Even though this punch had the powers to devastate the world, it was still far from enough in the eyes of Lin Fan. Crack. The entire void seemed to have been hardened up by this finger of Lin Fan. With a loud crack, the void began to shatter as though it was just a piece of mirror. Bam, bam, all of the ancient race beings could feel as though an external force had made its way into their bodies. Immediately after that, an irresistible series of tragic wails rang through the air as they exploded into a mess of flesh and blood. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State Ancient Race Being. Ding! Congratulations on killing Desolate Celestial Full Cultivation State Ancient Race Being. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 1, True State Ancient Race Being. ... Snatch, snatch, even though the experience points weren't that much, they were still worth taking in the end. At this moment, their essence, spirit, and vitality were absorbed by Lin Fan into his paradise to boost it as well. Demon City was being nourished within the paradise right now. Therefore, as the paradise strengthened, so would the Demon City as well. With a single move, those hundreds of ancient race beings were wiped instantly. To Lin Fan, this was practically effortless, and it didn't have him spending too much. Clang! Ziyun's sharp and lively gaze were fixated in disbelief at this moment. The supreme graded human weapon metal fork that she had regarded as a precious treasure dropped to the ground in an instant as well. All of the other chicks were equally flabbergasted. To think that these ancient race beings who were so fearsome and terrifying in their eyes would be killed in a single finger by this mysterious man. Wasn't this way too horrifying? How could this be? Ziyun and the others weren't the only ones feeling the same shock. It was the same thing for those of the succubus race who were trapped within the cages. The scene right now had them watching with their jaws agape. Who in the world was this man? How in the world could he be this strong? Was he a friend of Ziyun and the others? Lin Fan tossed his robes back as his long hair breezed in the wind. His eyes were fixated at the distant sky. Over there, the magic powers in the sky were rampant, as the heavens showed a weird phenomenon. Evidently, an intense battle must be breaking out over there. By the looks of it, there must be more beings of the thousands of races who were being held down by the ancient race beings. There was no way to tell of the situation over there right now. However, to Lin Fan, all of these ancient race beings were still experience points nevertheless. These were experience points that he could easily get with the flip of his palms. If he were to give it up just like this, it would be a real pity. By the way the skies were looking with the chaotic powers, these ancient race beings did not seem like they were too weak either. By the time the masses had reacted over from the situation, they looked over at this man whose long robes and hair were floating in the breeze right now. Every single one of them was intoxicated by his charm. Compared to earlier on, this man now had an aura of a powerful being, which was slamming onto their faces like a tidal wave. Some of the shyer girls of the succubus race started blushing immediately. Evidently, they already had a crush on this man. However, to Lin Fan, he was long used to all of this by now. Given his handsome disposition, it was something natural for all the girls to be attracted towards him. Bam! Suddenly, Lin Fan leapt off from the ground and headed over into the distance. Ziyun and the others wanted to say something, but before they could, the other party had already left. With that, they hurriedly rescued the rest of their relatives. Ziyun, Piao Piao, do you guys know that man? A middle-aged woman with an exceptional grace asked. No, we don't. We only bumped into this man while we were trying to make our escape. We don't even know his name. Ziyun shook her head. She had not expected that this man would be this strong. To think that those formidable ancient race beings who were practically invincible in their eyes would seem so feeble and weak in the presence of this man. That was something that had them shocked entirely. The direction he's headed to right now seems to be where the ancient race army is. The leader of our race is still fighting with the ancient race beings over there. Let us hurry over as well. ... At this moment, Lin Fan was excited beyond words. Ever since he had turned stronger, this life of his was getting more fun by the day. This was especially the case when he got the chance to show off in front of chicks. That feeling was way too domineering. That calm expression he gave off just now, that haughty face of his, that fleeting disposition of a champion, all of that must have charmed everyone on the scene entirely. Ha ha, Lin Fan burst out laughing as he flipped his body in the sky. Evidently, he was overwhelmed with joy right now. The closer he got, the more Lin Fan could sense the immense powers that being sensed from the battlefield. However, compared to Grandmaster Yun, this was still way too far to compete. Leader of the succubus race, give it up. You guys are completely surrounded by us. You've got no hope at all. At this moment, the leader of the succubus race was surrounded by 3 ancient race consuls. These 3 ancient race beings had a mighty aura, with a boundless power emanating from them. Floating in the void, they seemed to be causing the entire void to freeze up. In fact, they even seemed to be fusing with the universe at this moment. The leader of the succubus race was a young lady. Every single move of hers seemed to possess an immense charm. Looking at this girl, those 3 ancient race consuls could not help but let out a lustful look in their eyes as they gulped down their saliva. If the ancient race beings wanted to play with the beings of the thousands of races, they would undoubtedly have to go for those of the succubus race. After all, the nature and bodies of these succubus race beings were definitely going to be a memory that was worth relishing over and over again. This was especially the case for the leader of the succubus race. She was someone that these 3 consuls had been lusting over for the longest time now. The moment they caught wind of the hiding place of the succubus race, even the ancient race beings themselves were fighting over hunting them. After all, hunting down the succubus race was an extremely pleasant task to do. Leader, we must definitely die in combat. Otherwise, if we were to be caught by them, our fates would definitely be worse than death. A group of women stood beside the leader of the succubus race. These women had a sharp gaze in their eyes. Their aura was steady, and their cultivation states were far from weak. There must have been someone who sold us out. Our succubus race is aloof from the affairs of the world, and we were hidden so deeply. There's no way we would have been discovered. Meiji must be the one who betrayed us. Back when we had rescued her from the hands of the ancient race beings, I had already realized that something was off with her. Meiji. The faces of the leader of the succubus race and the others froze up. They looked around hurriedly, and noticed that Meiji had gone missing. At this moment, a sly laughter came from behind the ancient race beings. There, a Slutai-looking woman, who was scantily clad, leaned on the body of an ancient race consul as she used her long finger to curl at her fellow succubus race beings. You guys should hurry up and surrender. Our dear consul will be sure to cherish and take good care of you guys. Ha ha, one of the ancient race consul burst out laughing. As though he was cradling a small bird, he held this woman of the succubus race in his arms and laughed devilishly. She's right, bow down to us and I shall guarantee that you're free from your sufferings and torments. Otherwise, you shall definitely lead a fate worse than death. The beings of the succubus race glared at Meiji as rage burned in their hearts. HMPH. We would rather die than submit to you. Hee, if you really wanna die, wouldn't that be easy though? You guys are completely surrounded by the ancient race right now. Where else can you escape to? The ancient race consul spread out his arms and laughed wildly. With the succubus race in the center, rings after rings of ancient race beings were encircling them right now. Densely packed and boundless, they were like locusts that were covering an entire field with a blanket. There was no way out. For these beings of the succubus race, there was no longer an escape path. Each of them let out a look of despair as they exchanged glances with one another. They knew that these 3 were part of the 7 consuls under the command of the sovereign King Wei. Their powers were formidable, it wasn't something they could possibly hope to go against. Are you guys thinking of self-destructing with your paradise? But, it's a pity you guys wouldn't be able to do that. With your consul here, do you guys think that I would allow that? The ancient race consul roared out in laughter. Opening his arms, the laws of the world around them began to change immediately. The beings of the succubus race suddenly realized that their paradises were being forcefully suppressed. They couldn't even self-destruct from within. At this moment, the leader of the succubus race and the others were truly despairing. It had just struck them that these ancient race beings had just been playing with them from the very beginning. But, it seemed as though they'd grown tired of playing these games by now. Looking at these sinister and hideous-looking ancient race beings that were surrounding them, they truly felt anguished within their hearts. Indeed, this didn't disappoint me. To think that there are so many ancient race beings over here. At this moment, a gleeful voice rang out from the void suddenly. Who's there? The faces of the ancient race consul grew stern as they looked over into the distance. At this juncture, who would dare to come and throw their lives away? All the succubus race beings turned their heads in unison at the distance as well. The moment they looked over, their faces changed as their eyes shone with astonishment. The sight in the distance had all of them utterly shocked right now. Chapter 624. How does no one know about my name yet? Chapter 624. How does no one know about my name yet? At the end of the day, the thing that mattered the most to Lin Fan was his entrance. One could never ever make do with an entrance that was anything less than spectacular. Otherwise, how was Lin Fan to answer to himself after his lifetime of achievements so far? Floating in the air right now was a colossal dragon that was 100,000 feet long. Its majestic disposition and boundless dragon might encompass the entire world. The scales on its body were extremely shiny, akin to glowing heavenly soldiers in the sky right now. And, on the head of this majestic colossal dragon stood Lin Fan. Hands behind his back, his eyes looked down on all the living beings of this world in disdain. Even though the Thunder Trainer King was small in stature, he too was draped in an intricate robe. Toying with thunderbolts in both of his hands while having his long hair dance in the air, there was a Buddha glow gleaming at the back of his head as he smiled imposingly. The big ancient demon held the demon city in his hands, and stood tall with his towering figure, stretching into the heavens and earth. With these two fellas standing behind Lin Fan, he looked more domineering than ever. At this moment, the leader of the succubus race and the others looked over at the direction of Lin Fan. All of them were stunned. That 100,000 feet long colossal dragon was the one that had all of their jaws dropping apart especially. That was one of the top 10 old ancient beasts. Each of the old ancient beasts were extremely ferocious. In fact, even the ancient race might not want to face them at times. To think that it would have a man stand on its head and bow down as his pet willingly. This colossal dragon here was a product of that precious paradise of Lin Fan. In order to manifest this colossal dragon out of it, he had to expend quite a bit of spirit chi of his paradise. However, even though this colossal dragon looked intimidating from the front, its cultivation state wasn't that high. It was only that of a divine celestial level 3, paradise state. Despite that, Lin Fan knew that there was a huge potential for this colossal dragon. Because it was able to continue cultivating on its own. Who are you? The three ancient race consuls looked at this man in the void warily as they asked with a stern face. Lin Fan's entrance did have the three consuls of the ancient race a little shaken because of it. This was truly the first time they had seen anyone enter as such. Heck, even the sovereign King Wei wasn't as domineering at this. Yours truly here is the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. Lin Fan tossed back his robes and replied casually. It had been some time now since Lin Fan has started using this name. However, he still had the feeling that there weren't many people who knew about this. To Lin Fan, this didn't make any sense at all. He had toppled the entire Despair City, killed the previous sovereign King Wei, and annihilated an entire ancient race army. Which of these weren't an earth-shattering achievement on its own? But, despite being so, why the hell didn't anyone know about it? What about those fellas that were saved by yours truly? Were they doing their jobs of advertising this name for yours truly? At this moment, the faces of the three ancient race consuls changed immediately as they hollered out, "You're the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan." Initially, Lin Fan did not bear any hope that this would play out. However, upon seeing the reaction of the three ancient race consuls, he started laughing within his heart. Seemed like these guys know about him. What Lin Fan had not expected was for the entire ancient race army to start clamoring about at the sound of this name. He's the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. That's the human who is extremely vicious and never shows any mercy to the ancient race. We've captured some beings of the thousands of races out there. After tormenting and beating them up, they finally confessed up. The Despair City, the previous sovereign King Wei, all of them were done in by this guy. What Lin Fan did not know was that even though he would leave his name at every battlefield he went to, he would always kill all of them, so there was no one left to report about it. Therefore, it was entirely impossible to spread this title of his at all. However, there was once when these ancient race beings had managed to capture some of the beings of the thousands of races. Suddenly, all of those beings of the thousands of races started shouting and exclaiming about some mother *C King Human King or something. After some intense beating up, they finally confessed and admitted every single one of the mother *C King Human King's crimes. The ancient race beings then checked it out on the fugitive list. With that, they realized that this human's ranking was soaring up the charts rapidly. And this was none other than the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. That's right, yours truly here is the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. The Despair City was destroyed by yours truly. Sovereign King Wei was killed by yours truly. That 1 million ancient race soldiers at the Firewater secret grounds. That's right, yours truly was the one who had them slain as well. I'm supposing that none of these are secrets for you guys of the ancient race, Lin Fan commented indifferently as though this was something really normal he was talking about right now. But of course, it was just in case these ancient race beings did not know about it. Lin Fan was still careful to name out every single one of his achievements. At the start, the beings of the succubus race did not have any idea who this man was. However, upon hearing those words, their faces turned into one of shock. To think that this man's battle achievements would be this shocking. To the beings of the thousands of races in the ancient saint world, this man was practically a hero. As for the ancient race beings, he was the devil. The three consuls of the ancient race exchanged glances with one another. Right now, there was a bubbling fear in their hearts. However, they did not know just how true this was. If this man before them had truly killed the previous sovereign King Wei, they would definitely not be a match for him. However, as a being of the ancient race, there was no such thing as fear in their lives. The only thing they had to do was to kill all the beings of the thousands of races. Mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan, Then, we've just got to see whether you've truly got these capabilities. The three ancient race consuls roared out together. Whether or not I've got the capabilities is something that you guys will find out in a bit. Lin Fan let out a grin. Immediately after, he grabbed at the ancient race army. This single grab was akin to grabbing out at the entire world. It was just a simple, casual arm. However, it expanded endlessly and covered the entire sky, holding these ancient race beings in his hand. His powers were akin to that of a dragon. With immense energy contained within them, he closed his fingers and pinched, squeezing them into explosions immediately. Bang, bang, one by one, these ancient race beings ruptured out. Their meat and blood spewed all across the sky, converting into essence, spirit, and vitality that was all absorbed by Lin Fan. What a cruel human. Those ants of the ancient race could only let out looks of fear as they caught sight of how this human had killed all those ancient race beings with a single squeeze. Horrifying. This was way too horrifying. When dealing with these normal beings of the thousands of races, they should be doing it with absolute ease. But, why were they so helpless in the face of this terrifyingly strong Mother *C King Human King? To think that he could snuff out a huge bunch of them in a single stomp. Consuls, save us. The ancient race army started wailing out tragically. This Mother *C King Human King seemed to be addicted right now. Each time he struck out, a huge bunch of ancient race beings would die just like that. Lin Fan wasn't too bothered about the experience points these ant-like ancient race beings gave. Instead, the essence, spirit and vitality they provided were essential for the paradise. Even though the benefits they gave individually were minuscule, if they were to accumulate, it would be pretty significant as well. Mother *C King Human King, stop that right now. You shall die for killing our ancient race beings. The moment the consuls of the ancient race caught sight of this, their faces turned terrible as they burst out at Lin Fan with a killing intent. All three of them were divine celestial level 6, lost state beings. Even though they looked strong on the surface, they were still nothing compared to Lin Fan. Honestly, Lin Fan couldn't even be bothered in the least bit. Perhaps he should just let them warm up a little before he went in for the kill. Watch out. Looking at how the three ancient race consuls were charging at Lin Fan, the beings of the succubus race could not help but warn outs. Go. Lin Fan tossed back his robes and ordered. These ancient race consuls were just like fishes on a chopping block for him right now. Even if they wanted to run, they wouldn't be able to do so. Hearing him, the Thunder Trainer King and the big ancient demon charged up at these ancient race consuls immediately. Chapter 625, Playing Cheat. Chapter 625, Playing Cheat. Ancient Saint Origins Ancient Saint Fist. Devastate the world. There was no way these three consuls of the ancient race can allow this human to continue killing as such. Hence, they laid out their killer moves. Three fists rained out, as an energy descended from the unknowns of the ancient saint world's heavens will and boosted them. A single punch to break through everything, bringing with it a limitless amount of power. Every single fist was as massive as a mountain, bringing with it a tremendous force that caused the entire void to vibrate. The fists turned into images of fist gods. These fist gods represented the epitome of fist moves, possessing an endless amount of law within them. Mother *C King Human King. Go to hell. The three ancient race consuls did not know whether this was the real Mother *C King Human King. Therefore, they wouldn't get too careless, and wanted to take down this human with everything they had in a single move. This set of fist moves was initially a combined attack by all 7 consuls together. The moment all of them were to use it together, it would bring forth a phenomenal strength. But at this moment, there were only 3 consuls who were deploying the skill together. Despite that, the amount of force was still tremendous, definitely way stronger than any other move that any other mere divine celestial level 6, lost state being could deploy. Looking at these ant-like ancient race beings, Lin Fan opened his hands wide and continued slapping down. These dense number of palm strikes swooped down from the heavens in a flurry and slapped the ancient race army to death. Absorb, absorb. Lin Fan was extremely elated in his heart right now. The spirit chi within his paradise was getting denser than ever. The mythical parasol tree, which was receiving all these essence, spirit, and vitality from the ancient race beings, was even more active right now. The flourishing branches were filled with a lush, green tone to them. There were flower spirits which were only the size of a palm that were dancing around the mythical parasol tree and singing along while nurturing it. Bam! 3 fists broke through the void and landed on Lin Fan's body. It's done. The 3 consuls of the ancient race were elated at this scene. As long as they were to land a full strike, no matter how strong the other party was, they would definitely die. However, the 3 consuls of the ancient race realized in disbelief that this single punch of theirs that contained all of their powers seemed to have no effect at all, as it landed onto the body of this human right here. It neither hurts nor itches. Lin Fan grinned while patting his clothes. If not for the fact that Grandmaster Yun of the Cloud Sect had helped to raise his physical body state to a divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state, these 3 fists would have given him a run for his money as well. The higher the status of the ancient race beings, the stronger their powers were. Be it in terms of comprehension or innate potential, all of these guys were top-tiered existences within the ancient race. These 3 ancient race consuls were probably second to none in the ancient race, reigning over everyone else. Other than the sovereign King Wei, they were the second in command. How could this be? At this moment, the 3 consuls of the ancient race yelped out in shock. To think that this human could have defended against their killer move with such ease. This man was truly the Mother *C King Human King. Not only that, has his cultivation state reached a point which was too far for them to reach. The moment the leader of the succubus race caught sight of how the killer move of the 3 consuls did no damage to Lin Fan at all, she was immediately taken aback. However, her shock turned into a smile soon after. If this were truly the case, the succubus race might just be able to get out of this all right. Mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. Since when did such a powerful being exist within the ancient saint world? Why hadn't they heard of it before? Why could it not be? This is all because you guys are far too weak. Lin Fan replied in disdain. Right after Divine Celestial Level 4, Undying State was the Essence Spirit State. For most people, if they wanted to become a powerful being of Essence Spirit State, they could first have to cultivate out their second Essence Spirit. However, because Lin Fan possessed the system, all he required was experience points, and that was all. As long as his experience points were enough, he would automatically enter the Divine Celestial Level 5, Essence Spirit State. With that, he could automatically form the second Essence Spirit as well. There was no way Lin Fan was going to let these 3 consuls of the ancient race go at any cost. However, at this moment, Lin Fan was in fact more interested in crushing all of the ants of the ancient race army. Even though the big ancient demon had already been subjugated by him and turned into a weapon spirit, it was still imposingly mighty. A single move of his could bring forth an immense amount of power, that was unparalleled. Just by opening his mouth, he swallowed countless ancient race beings into his tummy. A single wave of his hands brought forth an immense vortex cyclone that blended the ancient race beings into dregs. If there were enough ants, even an elephant could die by their bites. However, to Lin Fan, these ants were merely toothless ants. Right now, the Thunder Trainer King was showing off his Buddhistic nature as he was spouting out words of the sutra. Every single character of the words floated out gently in the world, cleansing every single living being out there. Under the cleansing of these sutras, those evil-looking ancient race beings turned extremely calm and docile immediately. In a jiffy, the Thunder Trainer King flicked out with his finger. Instantly, the ancient race beings disappeared, and were brought into the paradise. The moment they entered the paradise, they exploded out instantly. Their meat, blood, essence, spirit, and vitality were all divided out and absorbed by the living beings of the paradise, turning into nothingness. The three consuls of the ancient race howled madly. Looking at how their underlings were being massacred by this human, their hearts burned with rage uncontrollably. I'm afraid we aren't his match at all. However, no matter what, we've got to kill him. Damned human, damned human. I swear that I'll never let it go until I kill him. The three consuls of the ancient race exchanged glances with one another, their eyes filled with a maddened frenzy. Mother *king human king. The three of them howled wildly. Today, even if we have to give it our all, we'll definitely kill you. Initially, Lin Fan had intended to just ignore these three consuls and leave them for the last. However, there was something that was causing Lin Fan to frown slightly. All of a sudden, a strange devastating amount of energy erupted out of these three ancient race consuls out of nowhere. As the leader of the succubus race caught of these changes, her face changed as she yelled out, "Watch out! These three consuls are trying to use their paradise, essence spirit, and law as a sacrifice to unleash a horrifying attack." Lin Fan's expression did not change as he continued watching. He then smiled casually, "Seems like you guys are really going to go all out just to kill me, HMPH. We know that you're the mother *king human king, and that you're strong. Right, we definitely aren't your match. But, no matter what, we must have you pay the price." The three consuls of the ancient race growled nefariously. Instantly, their bodies shone with a bright light, as their paradise, essence spirit and law surged out from their bodies and fused together. Massacring ancient arrow. With that, the three consuls of the ancient race disappeared entirely. All that remained before Lin Fan's face was a bow. The aura of this bow was berserk, as it was filled with a massacring aura. On the surface of the bow, a facial expression appeared. This was one of the ancient race beings. "Damned human, did you really think that we're going to die? I'll have you know that there's nothing our Lord Utmost Being cannot do. Even if we were to die, our Lord Utmost Being would definitely resurrect us. As for you, you shall perish entirely under the might of this arrow. Your soul and spirit shall disintegrate as well." Boom! Within the void, lightning flashed, and a consciousness descended from the unknowns. "May the blessings of the heavens will be with me, may the heavens will descend. The almighty heavens will, go forth, arrow of the heavens will." Instantly, an even more terrifying form of energy erupted forth as a pitch-black long arrow floated gently in the skies. This long arrow was wrapped with a mysterious source of energy around it. Holy FCK, these guys are playing cheat. Lin Fan had not expected the heavens will of the ancient saint world to be this brazen. How dare it help the ancient race so openly as such? This power overwhelmed everything. This was not even including that mysterious power that was wrapped around the arrow above it. That aura reeked of the heavens will of the ancient saint world. With the boost of the heavens will at this place, they were bent on killing him right here and now. "Go and die." The big bow started arching as it shone with a sharp glint. It fused into one with that devastating long arrow. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out across the entire place. A streak of light bolted out at Lin Fan with immense force, surpassing everything before it, including time, space, and the void. "Die. You must absolutely die for us." On the long arrow, three familiar faces appeared howling venomously. Chapter 626, Blossoming of the Mythical Parasol Tree. Chapter 626, Blossoming of the Mythical Parasol Tree. A chilling aura spread out in all directions, as though a tidal wave had just engulfed the entire world. Despite being at some distance from the point of impact, the beings of the succubus race could feel the ripples in their hearts. Under this frightful aura, everyone's face was pale as they let out looks of horror. The leader of the succubus race looked over at the distance, wondering what the final outcome of this would be like. It was no longer any secret that the ancient race was blessed with the help of the heavens will of the ancient saint world. In fact, there was even some powerful being who said that the heavens will of the ancient saint world was just in a deep slumber right now. Therefore, it could only react to certain energies from the unknowns, and was unable to directly attack by itself. Once the day came when the heavens will of the ancient saint world were to awaken once more, all of the beings of the thousands of races out there would definitely be subjugated as slaves by it, or perhaps die in its hands. Just what in the world is going on over there? A beam of bright light shot out through that arrow, blinding the entire world in its radiance. Ziyun and the others were rushing over here. However, they stopped right in their tracks. They could feel an aura that was causing their hearts to palpitate furiously. This energy was both berserk and sinister. Damned mother *king human king. Your actions are unpardonable. Today, we shall have you die under this arrow. The three faces on the arrow howled out balefully, and were extremely angst right now as they let out sounds akin to that of angry ghosts. Towards this course of action they were taking, Lin Fan felt ashamed for them. Heck, weren't they too damned despicable? This heaven's will of the ancient saint world was way too despicable. To think that it would render them assistance so damn brazenly. Even if the three of these consoles were to self-detonate, they wouldn't be able to create such a formidable amount of power. Evidently, everything that was happening right now was all due to the heaven's will's doing. PSHEW. As the arrow seared out, the sound that was created by it ripped through the void and rang out through the entire world. Under the might of this arrow, the void was exploding continuously. However, despite this, Lin Fan wasn't afraid in the least bit. Ants are ants at the end of the day. Even if you've got the help of an external force, it won't do much to give you guys the advantage. Lin Fan stretched out two of his fingers and clipped the arrow between them in a sandwich. The long arrow was in a frenzy right now. It struggled out violently under the might of Lin Fan's fingers, trying its best to break free from them and pierce Lin Fan to death. Instantly, Lin Fan's face changed. Yet another blinding light was emitted from the long arrow as it finally broke free of Lin Fan's grasp and started howling madly once more. Haha, human, your doomsday is here. The three consuls of the ancient race laughed insanely. For this one moment, they had been waiting a long, long time now. However, they did not expect this human to be this strong. If not for the fact that the ancient saint world had boosted them, their combined powers might have been blocked down entirely by this human himself. However, they were at peace and confident right now. There was no way this human was going to survive this right now. The heaven's will was boundless. It wasn't something that mere ants of the thousands of races could easily fend against. In the blink of an eye, the long arrow pierced through Lin Fan's body. However, it disappeared almost immediately after. Where are we? Initially, the three consuls of the ancient race were all ready to see the human explode into pieces. But to think that they were teleported to a weird and mysterious place suddenly. This is the paradise of yours truly. Do you guys really think that you can kill yours truly with just something like that? Lin Fan floated within his paradise and grinned coldly. Damn it, damn it. Kill him. The three consuls had not expected things to turn out this way as they burst out in rage. PSHEW. PSHEW. This long arrow that possessed a limitless amount of power started darting around the confines of Lin Fan's paradise as it burst forth to kill Lin Fan. Lin Fan kept his composure and floated gently within his paradise. Curling his fingers, the mythical parasol tree suddenly showed its might as countless branches burst forth from the ground into the sky, coiling and wrapping themselves around this long arrow. What's this thing? Our power's diminishing. This thing is absorbing our energy. Heaven's will. Burst forth, burst forth. Wrapped by the branches of the mythical parasol tree, the long arrow was stuck in the air and unable to budge even a single inch. Just at this moment, something shocking happened for Lin Fan. Suddenly, the powers of the heavens will that were boosting this long arrow dissipated before his very eyes, and were absorbed furiously by the mythical parasol tree. The branches of the mythical parasol tree began to tremble immensely as it creaked loudly. It's blossoming. Looking at what was happening to his mythical parasol tree, Lin Fan's expression changed. It had been a long time since a weird phenomenon as such had happened with the mythical parasol tree. However, the startling thing was that the mythical parasol tree suddenly sprouted out a flower with brilliant colors. Even though this flower was still pretty young, Lin Fan knew that every single change that the mythical parasol tree underwent was something that shouldn't be underestimated. Thud, the long arrow dropped to the ground in a thud. The luster on it began to darken down as its powers were gradually disappearing. Damned human, we can't accept this. We just can't accept this. The three consuls of the ancient race howled out with their last bit of strength in a high-pitched yet feeble voice. Gradually, there was nothing left of these voices. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Ancient Race Being. Ding! Experience points plus 250,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Ancient Race Being. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Ancient Race Being. Absorb. As Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Ancient Race Beings, every single part of their bodies was extremely precious. Paradise, physical body, law, etc., even a single strand of their hair would probably possess an immense amount of power. Their paradise disintegrated, their physical body was broken, and their laws cultivated. Core smelt. Instantly, a gigantic river of power started flowing within the paradise. I've earned big time this time around. Lin Fan was exhilarated at this moment. Seemed like killing the ancient race beings was the best choice to make, especially when they were powerful ones at that. However, it was a pity that these three ancient race beings had forsaken their physical bodies in order to come and kill him. Because of that, all of their resources were expended into nothingness, leaving only a bit of that pure power that they possessed. If these three ancient race beings had not sacrificed their bodies, he might even be able to get at their storage rings and grab their possessions. Based on their positions in the ancient race, there would definitely be a decent amount of treasures to be taken. However, it was still pretty alright the way things were right now. The paradise had grown stronger after all. Also, that boundless amount of power in that long river was seeped within the paradise as well, nourishing the skill and weapon spirits. Outside, the beings of the succubus race were starting to get anxious at this moment. They wondered what had just happened. However, when they caught sight of the figure of that person, everyone was startled. That imposing figure of his, that calm face of his, that man was the mother *C King Human King. He was all right. As for the other three ancient race beings, they had disappeared from the face of the world. At this moment, Lin Fan was immersed deeply in his paradise. The weird behavior of the mythical parasol tree had attracted his attention. To think that the mythical parasol tree would blossom with a flower. Naturally, there had to be an ending to this. Could the heavens will be the reason behind this? However, how could he go and seek out the heavens will for more of its energy? Forget it, he would just make do with this for now. Based on his current strength, there was no way he could just head out and challenge the ancient saint world's heavens will just like that. Even if he could, there was no way he would seek it out right now. The fact that the mythical parasol tree had blossomed was a good beginning in itself. Looking at the beings of the succubus race below him, Lin Fan smiled casually. Leader, Ziyun and the others rushed forth from the distance. The moment they realized that their leader and the others were all right, they heaved out a sigh of relief. Vice versa, the leader of the succubus race was relieved over Ziyun's safety. However, at this moment, everyone's attention then turned towards this figure in the sky. The mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. Just who in the world was this man? How could he be this strong? But, just as everyone was beginning to settle down, a pitch-black darkness blanketed the sky in the distance. The black clouds rumbled like the furious waves in the seas as they made their way over. Within this patch of black clouds, a sinister castle was faintly discernible. A sinister aura filled the entire sky with its sketchy movements. Be it ancient beasts or living beings, everything stood out of its way. Holy FCK, just which troublesome fella is it this time round? Chapter 627, isn't this just a live broadcast? Chapter 627, isn't this just a live broadcast? Lin Fan looked over into the distance as the black clouds surged through the entire place. This was a formidable aura, one so strong that it was causing others nearby to feel suffocated. This was especially the case for that castle that was faintly hidden within those dark clouds. It looked akin to a hell on its own. Within it, there were baleful howls of vengeful spirits and specters that were walking by. Just what kind of background is this *T from? Just as Lin Fan was still puzzled, the leader of the succubus race frowned as her face was slowly being filled up with horror. Lin Fan caught sight of this change in her expression and understood. The leader of the succubus race knew where they were from. Leader of the succubus race, who are they? Lin Fan asked. That's the moving palace of the Evil Alliance Prince. The face of the leader was extremely terrible right now as she shivered uncontrollably. Compared to the ancient race beings earlier, she seemed even more afraid right now. Evil Alliance Prince. Even though Lin Fan did not know who this person was, he knew that there was an extremely nefarious syndicate known as the Evil Alliance. Could this Evil Alliance Prince be someone from that same Evil Alliance? Ziyun and the others were initially in the atmosphere of a new lease of life. However, at this moment, they lost that to the incoming dread. They knew that the Evil Alliance Prince was extremely cruel. Many fellow beings of the succubus race had been abducted by this Evil Alliance Prince. Before long, the only thing that was returned of their bodies were corpses that were completely dried up. The beings of the succubus race had no idea how the Evil Alliance were discovering them. Each time they changed a base or location, they would somehow be found by this Evil Alliance. They were extremely frightened in their hearts, like birds trapped in cages. To think that the Evil Alliance would come knocking right after they had just gone through an escape from being hunted down by the ancient race army. Mother *C King Human King. Please save us. Ziyun turned her gaze to Lin Fan and let out a look of begging. This Mother *C King Human King before them was extremely strong. If he were to render his assistance, the succubus race might just be able to get out of this alive. However, the Evil Alliance was extremely strong within the ancient saint world. Each and every one of their members were extremely vicious and cruel beings. Not only that, this evil alliance prince was someone who was extremely mysterious. Legends even had it that he was someone reigning over most of the evil alliance, with an extremely high status in that syndicate. When you guys have the chance, make your escape. Lin Fan looked over in the distance. However, his vision was in fact cast even further from where he was looking. He could sense a feeling of detection that was sweeping over towards him. It seemed as though someone was observing him from somewhere far behind. The moment the beings of the succubus race heard this, their faces changed. Could it be that even the mother *C King Human King wasn't a match for the evil alliance prince? However, thinking back at the methods of the evil alliance prince, it was understandable. The previous leader of the succubus race was someone who did not agree with the evil practices of the evil alliance as well. Therefore, she stood up against them in resistance. Eventually, she was taken down with ease before she could even have a chance to retaliate. Mother *C King Human King, you should be the one to leave first, please. Since you're not a match for them, there's no need for you to needlessly sacrifice your life for ours. The leader of the succubus race sighed. Eventually, they were still far too weak. So what if they could escape once? How many more times could this carry on? No, it's not that. While the evil alliance prince may be strong, he isn't enough to have me being afraid. It's just that there's going to be an even more fearsome existence that will descend upon us soon. Even though Lin Fan was pretty nervous in his heart, he felt that he had an obligation to do this. If he hadn't witnessed it for himself, the anxiousness within Lin Fan's heart wouldn't be removed no matter what. We can stay here and help you, the leader of the succubus race replied. The one who would descend before us later should be an utmost being of the ancient race. Lin Fan flicked out with his finger. Instantly, a fresh drop of blood appeared. Take this drop of blood with you guys. Take good care of it. The moment the beings of the succubus race heard these words of Lin Fan, their faces changed immediately. Even their breathing got hurried. You utmost being of the ancient race. These words were akin to having the heavens toppling before their very faces, rendering them weak and powerless. In fact, their hands and feet were running cold instantly at the sound of these words. If they were to compare the evil alliance prince with the utmost being of the ancient race, that would be comparing a toddler and a full-fledged adult. Lin Fan had seen this day coming a long time ago. After all, his behavior had been way too outrageous. The way he was squashing the ancient race beings was akin to squashing ants. The Despair City, the Sovereign King Wei, the ancient race army at the Firewater Secret Grounds. Those were countless ancient race beings. This has severely threatened the dignity of the ancient race. There was no way the utmost being himself was going to let him off. And, since the ancient race beings were no match for him, the only way to take him down was for the utmost being to appear personally and smother Lin Fan within his cradle. If Lin Fan wanted to escape at this moment, he could do so. No one would be able to stop him or find him out. With the existence of the system, Lin Fan wouldn't even leak out a single drop of his aura. Furthermore, the stealth ability of his was really strong. As long as he didn't sell himself out, even the utmost being of the ancient race wouldn't be able to find him, and would have no way of doing so. However, Lin Fan knew that the utmost being was really strong. As to how strong he truly was, Lin Fan had no idea. Therefore, he had to witness it for himself. Just one glance, that was enough. As long as he could determine the strength of the other party, he would have a target to fight for in his path forward in the future. Go on. Lin Fan's battle intent was high-strung right now as his blood began to rumble within his body. Utmost being of the ancient race, this was the most powerful existence within the entire ancient saint world. True, he might not have the strength to fight against him now. But, if he didn't even have the courage to face him, that'd be way too cowardly. Mother *C King Human King, please turn around. Ziyun spoke up. Why? Lin Fan asked puzzledly. Taking in a deep breath, he turned around and smiled while asking. Ziyun clapped her palms together. Instantly, a light screen appeared before his face. It was like a camera that was recording everything before his face. After that, Ziyun's palms danced, causing this light screen to disintegrate into numerous portions that flew out into all directions. What's that? Lin Fan asked curiously. This is the mirror light curtain, an innate skill of the succubus race. I'm dissipating these light spots out into all directions of the ancient saint world so that all the living beings can accept it. From there, they could then witness everything that's happening right now. Your noble act must be made known to every single living being in the ancient saint world, and carved into our hearts for life. After all, you're the sixth person who has ever dared to face up an existence such as the utmost being of the ancient race. At this moment, Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy momentarily. To think that there was something as such in this place. Wasn't this just the same as a live broadcast? To think that the ancient saint world would have something this advanced. However, thinking about how he was going to appear before all the living beings of the ancient saint world, Lin Fan could not help but groom himself up a little from head to toe. No matter what, he had to come off more presentable. Instantly, those bright light spots were spread out across the world. Somewhere far in the distance, a being of the thousands of races caught sight of this light spot and grabbed it in his hands. Instantly, an image appeared before him. On the image was Lin Fan and the beings of the succubus race. In the chaos that ensued while the Mother Sea King Human King saved the succubus race from the grasp of the ancient race army, he killed countless ancient race beings. The evil alliance prince has arrived. And soon, the utmost being of the ancient race shall descend upon this place as well. Initially, this being of the thousands of races had wanted to squeeze this light spot into nothingness. However, the moment he heard that announcement, he froze up. You utmost being of the ancient race. These words were like the demons in the hearts of any beings of the thousands of races out there. It was enough to send the chills down one's spine, causing them to shiver uncontrollably. Some of the beings of the thousands of races who were once rescued by Lin Fan from the Despair City had now entered some of the different sects. Desolate Ancient Dragon Sect, a being of the thousands of races who was once rescued by Lin Fan was just living his days idly right now. Thinking back about his tormented days back in the Despair City, he could easily appreciate the freedom and carefree life of his right now. However, just at this moment, a small little bright light spot found its way dropping down gently from the skies. The being caught this light spot in his hands as a screen instantly appeared. At that moment, his expression changed. The moment he heard the announcement from within, his ears reddened with excitement. Everyone, hurry and come over. The Mother Sea King Human King's going to face up with one of the utmost beings of the ancient race now. This living being was someone of the dragon race. Therefore, his voice was extremely robust. Especially at this moment, that single roar was earth-shattering as it vibrated out into all directions. The moment the members of the desolate ancient dragon sect heard it, they were immediately displeased by this disturbance. However, the context of the roar had their faces changing almost immediately as they rushed over from all directions. Mother Sea King Human King, Lin Fan. This was a name they were familiar with. After all, this was the idol of their hearts, the idol who dared to clash head-on with the ancient race themselves. Chapter 628. Too bad for the evil alliance prince. Chapter 628. Too bad for the evil alliance prince. In the district ruled over by the utmost being, Cruel, most of the beings of the thousands of races who were living life on their last breaths were forced to hide in really covert places. Mother Sea King Human King. Who in the world is this guy? To think that he would dare to face off with the utmost being of the ancient race. At this moment, in a really secluded Shangri-La existed a being of the thousands of races who was once rescued by Lin Fan. By chance, he had come across this Shangri-La. The members of this Shangri-La had kind-heartedly taken him in as well, allowing him to reside at this place and become one of them. Because his personal strength wasn't all that bad, he thus took on the role of a teacher at this place to impart the ways of the martial arts down to the children who were born here. At this moment in a wooden hut, he was explaining something with a smile on his face. Teacher, is that Mother Sea King Human King truly that strong? We think that our teacher is the strongest. A child from the Horn race asked innocently. Haha, I'm naturally the strongest one in your hearts. However, I'll have you guys know that the Mother Sea King Human King is way stronger than I can ever be. Wow, I really want to know how the Mother Sea King Human King looks like. Just at this moment, a bright light spot flew over. The man caught it with his palms. He knew that this was an innate skill of the beings of the succubus race. Usually, it didn't have much use for it. However, each time the succubus race conducted a ceremony of their own, they would always transmit these bright light spots so that the beings of the thousands of races could observe and watch. Could it be some sort of ceremony once more? However, the moment he caught a hold of the bright light spot and watched with his hands, his face changed into a look of respect immediately. Guys, look, that's the Mother Sea King Human King, Lin Fan. He called out excitedly. The surrounding children began to hype up as well as they looked at the light screen curiously. To think that he would dare to clash headstrong with the utmost being of the ancient race. This man is indeed my idol. At this moment in yet another secluded forest, the righteous party was undergoing yet another mission this time around. In order to rescue the beings of the thousands of races, they had spent much effort each time. However, as a result, they had lost quite a number of members as well. Even though it was pretty heart-wrenching, this was a process they couldn't do without. Leader, it's him, it's Lin Fan, he's going to go up against an utmost being of the ancient race. What? Everyone from the righteous party dropped everything on their hands and encircled over, watching intently without making a single sound. Within the Cloud sect, Grand Master, this is bad. Lin Fan is going to meet with an utmost being of the ancient race. Meng Hengtian exclaimed anxiously. The moment Grand Master Yun heard these words, his face changed immediately. Wasn't this just courting death? However, when he caught sight of the figure on the light screen, he could not help but let out a sigh of exasperation. Lin Fan stood there, his face calm right now. You guys should leave first. Staying here at this moment was something that Lin Fan was doing willingly. Even though coming face to face with an utmost being of the ancient race was undoubtedly an act that was seeking death, he knew that he had to take a look at the utmost being once at least to ascertain his strength. As for that evil alliance prince, Lin Fan wasn't too bothered about that person. All he could say was, tough luck for this guy. The beings of the succubus race looked at Lin Fan as a feeling of awe rose within their hearts. Actually, we can all leave together. Zi Yun offered. She knew that this mother *C King human king before her was really strong. However, the utmost being of the ancient race was simply way too strong. This man is definitely no match for him just yet. It's alright, the utmost being of the ancient race had always remained secretive all this while. In fact, even the beings of the thousands of races do not know just how strong that utmost being is. Ever since I ascended into the ancient saint world, I had been bullied by the ancient race all the time. Naturally, I must stand up against this. Today, I shall take a look at this so-called utmost being. Even though I may not be a match for him, he would definitely have to expend some effort if he truly wants to kill me. Lin Fan replied. If you know that you're not his match, why do you insist on staying then? The leader of the succubus race asked, unable to understand his intents. If he knew that he was clearly going to lose, why was he so insistent on staying right here? That's because I want to identify just how strong this utmost being of the ancient race is. As long as I know his strength, I would then have the hope to know that I can kill this utmost being one fine day in the future. Lin Fan replied calmly. Lin Fan was indignant about all of this. To think that one single utmost being of the ancient race could act so cockily about everything. If he could tell just what the other party was made up of along with the help of the system, he would definitely be able to kill the other party through that information. Furthermore, who knew if something good might come out of the meeting later on? That was not entirely impossible to say either. Even though the chances were slim, they were not entirely nil. Hurry up and leave. Don't stay here any longer. The evil alliance prince is about to reach as well. By the time he's here, I may not be able to hold him back. Lin Fan continued. Take care. The beings of the succubus race did not hesitate. Instantly, they disappeared from where they were and dashed forth into the distance. At this moment in the far regions of the Black Cloud Palace sat a man draped in red robes, with a high and mighty attitude. He was surrounded by a bevy of ravishing girls. All of these girls were extremely flirtatious, as they fondled every single part of this man's body. This man let out a nefarious grin. Those clean, white hands of his were fondling the girls that were standing beside him as well. When he exerted a bit more strength, these girls started moaning in low tones all around. Prince, the beings of the succubus race have escaped. An underling reported while prostrated on the ground. HMPH. Run, where can they run off to? To think that those ancient race beings would dare to steal away the toys of your prince here. The reason why your prince rushed over here was to have the ancient race beings hand over my toys. To think that these beings of the succubus race would have some capabilities to be able to escape on their own. And now, they're thinking of escaping from your prince here once more. Do they truly think that your prince is someone they can escape from so easily? The evil alliance prince chuckled. Prince, how are those beings of the succubus race even comparable to us? Who knows? Perhaps, the reason why they were let loose was because the ancient race beings were tired of playing with them. A girl beside the evil alliance prince remarked with a tinge of jealousy in her tone. The moment the evil alliance prince heard this, he let out a weird-looking smile. Are you trying to say that your prince here has been made a cuckold? Prince, you're so naughty. The moment the girl heard this, she let out a look of fright. Immediately, she patted on the prince's chest and tried to giggle this off. Huh, what are you laughing at? The Evil Alliance Prince held out his palm with his fingers outstretched. Instantly, the girl was forced into a kneeling position before his knees. A bright red light flashed out, and she was turned into a dried-up corpse immediately. Do you think that you're someone who can take a jab at your prince here? The Evil Alliance Prince disintegrated this corpse as he said in a grim tone. The surrounding girls broke into a cold shudder. Immediately, they started serving the Evil Alliance Prince with even more fervor. Chase after them, chase harder. They want to run, we'll see if they have the capabilities to do so. The Evil Alliance Prince ordered. Yes, Prince. This underling bowed down his head in respect. However, just at this moment, the entire palace started to tremble. The black clouds that were surrounding the palace were cleaved aside by a single flash of bright light. Who is the one who dares to stand in the way of your prince here? At this moment, the face of the Evil Alliance Prince changed immediately as he bolted up from his seat. His face was frosty right now as his eyes were filled with a burning rage. To think that there would be someone who didn't know what was good for them. Prince, there's a living being who's blocking our path. Good, good, go out there and check out just who is it that has the balls to hold down the palace of your prince here. The Evil Alliance Prince tossed his robes aside and took a step out. The moment he stepped out, the girls behind him seemed to have lost every single bit of essence, spirit, and vitality in their bodies as they turned into dried corpses. His methods were cruel and demonic. His body was replenished by stealing the cores of others he came across. Chapter 629. To think that it would be this small. Chapter 629. To think that it would be this small. To be honest, Lin Fan was someone with quite the vendetta against the rich. This was especially the case for this Evil Alliance Prince. At the start, he hadn't taken a good look at all. However, when the Black Cloud's palace flew over his head, Lin Fan realized that this Black Cloud palace was an upper-graded Dao weapon. This was the richest person that Lin Fan had come across so far. What sort of riches must any beings of the thousands of races possess in order for them to have a Dao weapon in their hands? Needless to say, it was probably only that handful of them who could possibly afford it. After all, the beings of the thousands of races couldn't craft out weapons of their own. If they wanted a treasure, they would have to snatch it over from the jaws of the ancient race beings. To think that the Evil Alliance Prince would be riding on an upper-graded Dao weapon right now. This meant that the Evil Alliance must be pretty strong. The beings of the succubus race had already left this place. Naturally, Lin Fan could not allow the Evil Alliance Prince to catch up with them. Therefore, he used a single sword will to cleave the black clouds that were shrouding this palace instantly, revealing the true shape of this palace. The image from the innate skill of the succubus race was sent over to the eyes of the beings of the thousands of races. The moment the palace appeared before their eyes, all beings were startled. This infamous name of the Evil Alliance Prince was quite the shocker to some of the beings of the thousands of races. Not only was he strong, his methods were cruel. The most gut-crunching thing was that this Evil Alliance Prince would only target female beings. Not only that, he would suck them into dried-up corpses each time. These methods were way too cruel. Way too cruel. And, to think that the Mother *C King Human King would step forth and halt the Evil Alliance Prince in his way. Their hearts were filled with hope. They wanted the Mother *C King Human King to kill this Evil Alliance Prince brutally. Who is it that dares to hinder the path of your prince here? At this moment, those golden shining doors of the palace slammed open. Countless light beams burst forth from it, causing the sky to shower and fill with floating flower petals. The Evil Alliance Prince, who was draped in red robes, walked out of it flamboyantly. He stood upright in the void and glared at Lin Fan. Are you the one who is blocking the path of your prince here? The Evil Alliance Prince asked in a stern manner. Those sinister eyes of his were checking out Lin Fan right now. He did not know the background of this living being right here. To think that he would dare to strike out at his palace. Was this guy tired of living? Lin Fan swept a casual glance over at the Evil Alliance Prince. Divine Celestial Level 7, all in one state. Strong, very strong indeed. Even the Sovereign King Wei isn't his match. However, this was the very type of strength that would give him the guts to chase after the ancient race and demand for the beings of the succubus race back. Even though it was widely known that the ancient race was the ruler of the ancient saint world, to put it bluntly, power still came before that. The Evil Alliance Prince had an upper-graded Dao weapon in his possession. Therefore, his powers weren't something that any mere Divine Celestial Level 7, all-in-one state beings could deal with. Lin Fan did not have his gaze stop at the Evil Alliance Prince. Instead, it was still cast further back into the distance. He could sense an aura striding through the void and heading towards his direction speedily. Lin Fan's heart was skipping really quickly as the fresh blood in his body rumbled. The utmost being of the ancient race, cruel. This was an invincibly horrifying character. He was so strong that he could raise the hackles of people. Lin Fan's heart was beyond nervous right now. However, at this very moment, this path was something that was chosen by him. Even if he were cheated, he would have to bear with it. The reason why he had handed a fresh drop of his blood over to the beings of the succubus race was so that he could leave a final path for himself. Even if he were really beaten to a pulp by the utmost being of the ancient race, he could still go through rebirth through blood. HMPH, your prince here is asking you a question. Are you deaf? The evil alliance prince was angered right now. He had realized that this living being was ignoring him. This guy was totally not giving him any bit of respect at all. Who was he? He was the bloody evil alliance prince. He was an existence that ruled over practically everyone. Not only that, his cultivation state was earth-shattering. Even in the ancient saint world, he was an existence that could only be described as overbearing. He reigned over all the ants of the thousands of races. With a single notion of his, he could easily seize their lives if he wanted to. But, to think that a living being would be ignoring him right now. How could this not anger him like this? All the living beings who were surrounding and watching the screen right now could feel a knot in their stomachs. Yes, it was true that the evil alliance prince was strong. However, none of that would matter once the utmost being of the ancient race arrived. This evil alliance prince is acting so brazenly at this moment. However, this would be the way he would die tragically here. That's for sure. Haven't you guys seen how the mother *C King Human King is just ignoring him? It's evident that the one who would arrive later on must be the utmost being of the ancient race. That mother *C King Human King has just admitted with his very own mouth that he isn't a match for the utmost being of the ancient race. Then, why is it that he's choosing to wait here for the arrival of the utmost being? Hasn't the mother *C King Human King answered that? His motive is to check out the true face and strength of the utmost being of the ancient race. Does any of you even know just how strong the utmost being of the ancient race is? At this moment, all of the sects and all of the Shangri-Las began to discuss fervently. All of them knew that the events of today would serve as a morale booster. However, the thing that was worrying them was that if the mother *C King Human King wasn't a match for the utmost being, how was he supposed to keep his life later on? B***SH**T. The evil alliance prince couldn't take this any longer. Instantly, he darted down from above his palace and headed straight at Lin Fan for the kill. To think that you would court death as such. Since that's the case, your prince here shall grant you that. The evil alliance prince grabbed out with his hand. Instantly, that bloodied hand transformed into a set of white bones. Under the bright gleam of light, it emanated a brilliant radiance as though it was ready to cut through everything. Lin Fan stood there without budging an inch. He couldn't be bothered with the attack of the evil alliance prince at all. At this moment, he was only concerned about the utmost being of the ancient race. Nothing else mattered in the face of that. Go to hell. Clang. His claw-like grip landed on Lin Fan's chest. However, as though it had just slammed into a metal plate, a ringing sound rang out. Lin Fan swiped his hands and activated bare nudity instantly. In the blink of an eye, the evil alliance prince realized that his body was feeling chilly, and his nuggets were receiving the loving frost of the cool breeze outside. At the same time, the evil alliance prince was in utter disbelief that his skill would have no effect at all after landing on the body of the other party. In fact, the other party didn't even budge a single inch. This didn't make any sense to the evil alliance prince at all. How could this be? He lowered his head and realized that there wasn't even a single thread left on his body. His face turned extremely terrible. The moment the beings of the thousands of races who were watching the light screen saw this, they nearly spat out an entire mouthful of blood from their mouths. To think that things would turn out as such. At the very beginning, they had thought that a fearsome battle would definitely break out between the mother *C King Human King and the evil alliance prince. But they hadn't expected things to take on such a dramatic twist. Haha, look at that little donger of the evil alliance prince. How tiny is that? If I were not looking closely, I wouldn't even be able to tell it out at all. I'm afraid that the evil alliance prince doesn't even know just yet that the beings of the succubus race are using their innate skill to transmit all of these images to us of the thousands of races, right? That skill of the mother *C King Human King. It's so strong. Lin Fan turned around to look at the evil alliance prince. He then shook his head gently, to think that it would be this small. As a man, there was no way the evil alliance prince could endure such humiliation. How dare you treat me as such? However, so be it. As long as I kill you here today, no one else will ever find out about this. This was a soft spot for the Evil Alliance prince. There had been no one else who had ever known about this, not even those girls that were surrounding him. That was because the moment they found out, it would be the moment they were turned into dried-up corpses. The only way for others to not find out is for it to not exist in the first place. Can you see what that is? Lin Fan pointed out with his finger at a bright spot of light that was floating in the skies. Suddenly, it opened up into a screen. On this screen was the current state that the Evil Alliance prince was in right now. The innate gift of the succubus race. The moment the Evil Alliance prince caught sight of this image, his face changed and was looking as terrible as it could be. Yep, I suppose that the beings of the thousands of races must all know about it by now. Lin Fan replied. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. UB asterisk starred. Since that's the case, I'll just have to kill every single living being of the thousands of races who are watching this right now. The Evil Alliance prince's face was menacing right now as his eyes shone with a boundless killing intent. I don't suppose that you've got that chance any longer. Soon, the utmost being of the ancient race is about to arrive here, and I suppose that you're just going to have to die here. Lin Fan replied indifferently. Utmost being of the ancient race. The face of the Evil Alliance prince changed momentarily. However, he burst out laughing soon after, you damn thing. How dare you try to trick me still? How could the utmost being of the ancient race possibly arrive here? This is a lie that even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe in at all. To think that you could even spout out such nonsense. He's here. At this moment, Lin Fan's face froze up. His body bolted upright as an aura surged into the heavens. At the same time, the face of the Evil Alliance prince changed as he looked over at the distance. That initially furious expression of his turned pale as a sheet. He mumbled out in disbelief. How could this be? Chapter 630. Don't forget to rob even at the brink of death. Chapter 630. Don't forget to rob even at the brink of death. Today, sh*t is truly going to get real. Lin Fan's small little heart was thumping furiously right now. If it were anyone else, they would probably have been scared to death by now. Even if it were Lin Fan, he was now starting to shiver a little uncontrollably. Although, this was a shiver of anticipation. To be put bluntly, this was the sort of nervousness that one would get when one finally met a gigantic boss that was countless times stronger than oneself. The moment Lin Fan caught sight of how the Evil Alliance prince was right now though, he was stumped. Wasn't the reaction of this guy somewhat exaggerated? Lord Utmost Being, please spare me. Somehow, the Evil Alliance prince was kneeling on the ground by now. Not only that, he wasn't even wearing a single piece of garment on his body, and was just kowtowing furiously without stopping. The continuous thudding sounds of the Evil Alliance prince were causing the firm ground to seem as though it was about to tear apart somehow. By now, the entire head of the Evil Alliance prince was filled with blood. Given his strength as a divine celestial level 7, all-in-one state being, even if he were to smash the ground of the entire ancient saint world to smithereens with his kowtows, it shouldn't even cause a single bit of harm to his body. However, there was no way he would dare to use his powers to protect his physical body right now. After all, this was the utmost being of the ancient race that they were talking about. The Evil Alliance prince was totally flabbergasted at this moment. He did not know what in the world was happening. Why would the utmost being of the ancient race suddenly descend upon this place? He wouldn't even start to doubt that the monstrous momentum that was surging forth wasn't from the utmost being of the ancient race. After all, he had caught sight of a pair of eyes that was looking down on the entire world from that surging momentum that was approaching. That was a might that could only be found from an utmost being of the ancient race. Lord Utmost Being, please spare my life. Please spare me, please. The Evil Alliance prince was someone who was really haughty and arrogant. However, at this moment, arrogance was going to serve him Jack's tea. As long as he could live, that was the real truth there was to it. All the beings of the thousands of races who were surrounding the light screen at this moment held their breaths in a still silence. For all these beings, this was the first time they were going to catch sight of the utmost being of the ancient race. Even though the utmost being himself has yet to appear, that pair of eyes in the far distance was already enough to have their hearts thumping furiously. Some of the more cowardly beings of the thousands of races were already starting to tremble in fright. As for the Evil Alliance prince who was kowtowing non-stop, they had long forgotten him to the back of their heads. After all, the only thing that they were concerned with right now was none other than the utmost being of the ancient race. Somewhere in the depths of space and time, within a place that seemed like hell. Palace Master, the prince has bumped into the utmost being of the ancient race. At this moment, an underling who was wearing a pitch-black armor reported anxiously. What? On that jewel throne sat a figure shrouded in a black mist. Even though his features couldn't be seen clearly, it was evident that he was entirely startled at the news. How in the world would my son bump into the utmost being of the ancient race? At this moment, the figure leapt to his feet. However, he collapsed back onto his seat in helplessness. Initially, that upper-graded Dao weapon of the Evil Alliance Prince floated gently in the sky. However, the moment the weapon spirit within sensed this remarkably formidable aura, it landed onto the ground immediately. Taking the form of a black-robed man, it started kowtowing on the ground furiously just like the Evil Alliance Prince was doing right now. What a formidable aura! Lin Fan stood there as his body shivered uncontrollably. It wasn't that he was afraid. It was just that this aura was way too repressing, pressing down onto him like a gigantic mountain, leaving him helpless to resist. Master, the utmost being is approaching. You've got to be careful. Ziguang was the most familiar with the utmost being. This was an aura that he had suffered under for 1,000 years. Each time he felt this aura, it was a form of torment for him. Master, let me out. Let your trainer king duel with him for a good 300 rounds and have him tamed under my electroconvulsive therapy treatment. The Thunder Trainer King yelled out excitedly. Seeing this excited look on the Thunder Trainer King's face, Lin Fan was exasperated as well. Who in the world gave him such tenacity? This guy was going so crazy over the thought of being able to train such that he hadn't even bothered to check out the strength of the other party, had he? Lin Fan looked at the distance with a fixated gaze. He was determined to verify the strength of the utmost being of the ancient race. Mother ***** King Human King, Lin Fan. So, you're quite the new ant, However, since you've killed several millions of my ancient race beings, I'll have you die here today. Before the utmost being of the ancient race had even arrived, his voice was brought over first. This voice was similar to thunder, booming out and causing the entire world to rattle under its might. In fact, as though the void couldn't even withstand this surge of power, they began to rupture out continuously. A single voice that could cause the void to tear apart, this sort of power was way too horrifying. Looking at this scene, Lin Fan could not help but acknowledge that he was far from this level just yet. The utmost being of the ancient race wasn't worth his name for nothing. Even though this aura was pretty strong, shouldn't he just bloody hell and appear? If he were to come out and kill yours truly just like that, then yours truly would, fine, admit defeat. But now that such a long time had passed and he was still hiding, was he trying to put on an act of bullshit as well? Forget it, he can come out as he wishes then. Yours truly is done being an audience here. At this moment, Lin Fan cast his gaze over at the Evil Alliance Prince and let out a grin momentarily. The Evil Alliance Prince was completely crumbled within his heart right now. The moment the utmost being of the ancient race spoke up, he was even more panicked. Fear, a sense of fear that he had never ever experienced before finding its way into the mind of the Evil Alliance Prince. Evil Alliance Prince, how long more are you going to kowtow for? Lin Fan came before the face of the Evil Alliance Prince and smiled. Why you, don't talk to me now. Now that the utmost being of the ancient race is here, we're all going to die. Don't stand beside me. At this moment, the Evil Alliance Prince had no mood to act brazenly and arrogantly. In fact, even his speech was starting to stammer. Why you were the one who brought the Lord utmost being here. Don't drag me into this. Please leave, I'm begging you. Please leave. The Evil Alliance Prince had never imagined that the day would come when he would be dragged into trouble by a human. There was no one else at this place right now. Therefore, other than this guy, who else could the mother **** King Human King that the utmost being had mentioned be? Hatred, why the hell must he have chosen such a timing to appear at this place? Couldn't he have just been a little bit later? If only he were that bit later, he wouldn't have bumped into the Lord utmost being like this. That ring of yours looks pretty decent, How about you pass that over? Lin Fan took a look at the 10 shining and sparkling storage rings on the hands of the Evil Alliance Prince. Right now, he wanted to get his hands on those. Why you're a madman, you're insane. Here, you can have them all. All of them, I'll give you everything. Just hurry up and get lost, and don't stand beside me. This is an utmost being of the ancient race we're talking about. The Evil Alliance Prince was completely stumped right now. Without any hesitation, he took down all of his storage rings and tossed them over to Lin Fan. That arrogant attitude on his face was long gone by now. Replacing it was a look of request. He was beseeching the other party to not stand beside him. If the utmost being of the ancient race were to think that they were in cahoots, he would definitely be in for it. Lin Fan had not expected that the utmost being of the ancient race would be this terrifying in the eyes of the beings of the thousands of races. Indeed, this was pretty unexpected. Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders and walked towards that upper-graded Dao weapon slowly. There was already a consciousness attached to that upper-graded Dao weapon. Therefore, it could cultivate on its own. Looking at how the human was making his way towards him, the weapon spirit was scared out of its wits as well. Lin Fan smiled indifferently. Taking advantage of the panicked manner of the weapon spirit, Lin Fan absorbed it into his paradise entirely. Even though the Evil Alliance Prince was furious upon looking at this scene, he did not dare to take any actions at all as he continued with his kowtows. He could only hope that the utmost being of the ancient race would take him as a fart and just let him off like that. However, the Evil Alliance Prince knew that even that had an extremely slim chance. As to running or whatnot, the thought had never even crossed the mind of the Evil Alliance Prince. Running before the utmost being of the ancient race. Wouldn't he just die even faster that way? Boom! Just at this moment, the explosion rang out. The void began to erupt repeatedly as a figure appeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. N-O-V-E-L-B-I-N-C Om. A berserk aura caged everyone within it. This was a supreme might right here. Chapter 631. Instability of the succubus race's innate skill. Chapter 631. Instability of the succubus race's innate skill. The utmost being, Cruel, had descended, bringing forth with him a boundless amount of might that rippled over, the entire world trembled under it. The Evil Alliance Prince could not even dare to raise his head at this moment. His eyes were filled with nothing but fear. All he could do was kowtow on the ground continuously, hoping that the utmost being, Cruel, would take him as just a fart and let him off. Even if he were to meet with someone stronger than him, the Evil Alliance Prince would have never shown fear as such. However, this Evil Alliance Prince who wasn't afraid of anyone in this world was afraid of the utmost being of the ancient race. The utmost being of the ancient race had never once batted an eyelid or wasted his time in killing someone. If he were going to kill someone, so be it. There was no need for bargaining. The worst was that even if the Evil Alliance Prince were to be killed right here, there was nothing that his father could do about it. After all, this was the utmost being of the ancient race they were talking about. This was the supreme existence of the ancient saint world, the true master who controlled the lives of countless of living beings. All of those beings of the thousands of races who were surrounding the light screen at this moment were catching sight of the true body of the utmost being of the ancient race for the first time in their lives. Each and every one of them were absolutely shocked out of their wits. Bees, holy FCK, what the FCK is going on? Why is the image gone? Why the hell is this innate skill of the succubus race so unstable? To think that the image would be cut off at this critical moment. Isn't this just akin to taking our lives? The mother *C King Human King has finally met with the utmost being of the ancient race. What's going on right now? N-O-V-E-L-B-I-N-C Om. This is so cruel. Damn it, why isn't the MI race and the Samsung race around? If only those two races were around as well. With their innate skills, they would definitely be able to have this broadcast carry on. To think that the stream would hang up at such a critical moment. What a scam. At this moment, all of the beings of the thousands of races were entirely speechless. To think that the bloody light screen had disappeared at this moment. How exasperating was this? However, what they did not know was that the descent of the utmost being of the ancient race with his tremendous aura had caused the entire void to be destroyed. With that, those bright light spots had naturally dissipated into dust, ceasing to exist entirely. However, in the hearts of the beings of the thousands of races, this was all the fault of the succubus race. It was because their innate skill was unstable. They remembered that there would be disruptions along the broadcast of their own ceremonies in the past as well. Damn it, if their technology weren't stable yet, they shouldn't take it out in display to bring harm to the masses. This was especially the case at this moment. Lin Fan knew that what happened here was being made known to the beings of the thousands of races. However, with the disappearance of the light spots, he heaved a sigh of relief as well. Before the beings of the thousands of races, Lin Fan had to put on a suave, handsome, fearless, and graceful front. Even when faced with this utmost being of the ancient race whom he didn't have a chance of winning against, he had to ensure that even his death would be magnificent and dashing. However, at this moment when the image was gone, Lin Fan felt a burden being lifted off his chest. No matter how despicable and dodgy he would turn later on, no one would be able to see it. This meant that he could finally let loose now. At that moment, Lin Fan looked into the distance. To think that the body of the utmost being of the ancient race isn't really as tall and hulky as I had imagined. However, there's still a chilling feeling to it. Standing before Lin Fan, the utmost being of the ancient race did not have a bulky stature. Perhaps, it would be more appropriate to say that he was podgy. That pitch-black skin of his was coupled with 2 bones protruding from his shoulders that extended to the back of his body with an arc. Those frosty eyes of his were unusually creepy. A single look could send shivers down one's spines. Those sharp and gleaming teeth of his were akin to the mouth of a demon that was wide open. A doppelganger of the utmost being of the ancient race's essence spirit, divine celestial level 10, eternal God state. Holy FCK, to think that this is only a doppelganger of that fella. Bloody hell, why didn't he send his true self? Lin Fan was kind of speechless right now. To think that his doppelganger alone would be that of a divine celestial level 10, eternal God state cultivation state. Just what kind of cultivation state did his true body have? Didn't this mean that even if yours truly were to become a divine celestial level 10, eternal God state being, he still wouldn't have the capacity to provoke and go against the utmost beings of the ancient race? Headache. This is troubling indeed. You're the utmost being of the ancient race, cruel. Lin Fan wasn't fearful in the least bit at all. Raising his head, he asked imposingly. The utmost being of the ancient race, cruel, did not reply. He just stood there, looking at Lin Fan silently. He then let out a slight grin on his face, revealing those sharp teeth of his at the same time. This was extremely scary. Smile your mother. The moment Lin Fan saw how this utmost being of the ancient race was acting like a retard and just smiling instead of replying to his question, he couldn't keep it within himself any longer. Right now, Lin Fan was in a huff of anger. To think that this guy would just send a doppelganger of his essence spirit over. Bloody hell, would it kill him to just send his true self along? Did it matter if yours truly would get to know of your true cultivation state? The utmost being of the ancient race, cruel, changed his expression slightly. To think that an ant as such would dare to scold him. Immediately, he let out a really sinister grin. What I'll have you know that I've already made all my utmost preparations together with my evil alliance prince here to kill you right here. We'll use your head as a soccer ball and play around with it. Lin Fan disappeared from where he was standing. When he next appeared, he stood right beside the evil alliance prince. And no, this is not the case. Lord Utmost Being, I'm not with him. The moment the evil alliance prince heard how this darned Lin Fan was dragging him down into the waters, he was stunned immediately. Prepared your mother. I only passed by here by accident. Evil alliance prince, against a trash as such, we have to fight him face to face. Let's go together, Lin Fan continued. Gee, get lost. Go away. I don't wish to see you. At this moment, the evil alliance prince felt like crying. To think that this person would be this shameless. Did he have to take revenge on him like this? What, you want me to leave so that you can face the utmost being of the ancient race yourself? No, that's not right. How can I leave you to fight someone like this all alone? The moment Lin Fan heard those words, his face changed entirely as he turned to look at the evil alliance prince with a solemn look on his face. Don't worry, I'll never leave you. Even if you ask me to leave, I'll never leave. After all, this was promised and said between us. Aye. Noticing that the look on the face of the utmost being of the ancient race getting frostier by the second, the evil alliance prince could feel his guts almost exploding at this moment. He then hurriedly tried begging for mercy, Lord Utmost Being of the ancient race. Clean your neck and prepare to die. Lin Fan pushed down the sentence of the evil alliance prince and interrupted through. No, the moment he caught sight of this, the evil alliance prince let out a heart-wrenching scream. This wasn't the situation he had wanted to see. Just at this moment, Lin Fan struck out. Twisting with his palms, he slapped out a few thousand times. Each palm turned into a doomsday calamity god of its own as they slammed out towards the utmost being of the ancient race. Roar! The utmost being of the ancient race growled out in anger as that mighty soundwave filled the entire world. The soundwave transformed into a boundless beam of light that caused the doomsday calamity gods to be disintegrated by it. To think that these doomsday calamity gods that were trained to their peak by Lin Fan would be destroyed without a single bit of resistance, as though they were nothing but ants. Strong. Lin Fan's brows creased. Even though the doppelganger of the utmost being's essence spirit was only that of a divine celestial level 10, eternal god state, its powers were way too strong. His doomsday calamity gods possessed a world-devastating power. Especially after the nourishment of the paradise, they were now stronger than ever. To think that a single doppelganger of the utmost being's essence spirit could have them destroyed with just a single roar of his voice. This sort of power was absolutely heavenly defying. Utmost being of the ancient race. The evil alliance prince cried out in a panic. He wanted to live, how could he die right here? But instantly, a shroud of mist caged the evil alliance prince together. Lin Fan did not hesitate at all. The power of Bigra was emanated from his body immediately. Right now, he wanted to use the evil alliance prince as a meat shield. By now, there were no longer any images. If he were to still wait for death right here, wouldn't he just be a moron? However, he knew that he wouldn't be able to escape the grasp of the utmost being of the ancient race. After all, just his doppelganger of his essence spirit alone was this terrifying. Chapter 632, Swallowed in a Mouthful. Chapter 632, Swallowed in a Mouthful. You're a beast. The evil alliance prince had let go of all his pride before the face of the utmost being of the ancient race. To think that this mother ** sea king human king would drag him down the waters. Under the boundless and endless power of Bigra, the evil alliance prince realized that his body was no longer under his control anymore. Every single breath he took had a large amount of this mist. One by one, pink-colored colossal dragons wrapped themselves around his heart, destroying and gnawing at him from within. What in the world is this? Lord Utmost Being, arg, arg, arg hhhhhhhh. The evil alliance prince was going berserk right now. His eyes were flushed red as they let out a berserk gaze. Lin Fan's body was flashing intermittently in the sky as he deployed so near, yet so far to its maximum capacity. Utmost Being cruel, watch out now, my buddy, evil alliance prince, is going to go nuts. Lin Fan disappeared from the face of the world, leaving these final words before he left. Run, run, as far as he could get, he had to run. Lin Fan's speed right now had reached a maximum point. However, turning his head around, he realized that the utmost being of the ancient race was already on his tail, holding a head in his hand. That head in his hands was that of none other than the evil alliance prince. Holy FCK, how in the bloody world is that possible? The moment Lin Fan caught sight of this, his goosebumps stood up, evidently in some disbelief. No matter what, that evil alliance prince was a powerful being of divine celestial level 7, all in one state. Did he have to die this quickly? At this moment, the eyes on the head of the evil alliance prince were wide open, as though he had had a vengeful death. Or rather, it would be more accurate to say that the evil alliance prince did not even know how he had died even till the last moment. That was because in the blink of an eye, the utmost being of the ancient race had already appeared before the face of the evil alliance prince, lifting his hand without any warning. The next thing the evil alliance prince knew, his head had already been separated from his body. To a powerful being such as the evil alliance prince, as long as his essence spirit did not vanish, he wouldn't perish. Even a single drop of blood could have him revived through it. However, in the hands of someone like the utmost being of the ancient race, there was no chance of that happening. Instantly, the utmost being of the ancient race had just swallowed the body of the evil alliance prince whole. Every single fiber of his being was converted into the power of its core, and was consumed entirely by him. As for this head right now, it was just a morbid shell that had nothing within it. Holy FCK, utmost being cruel, why the FCK are you following me? I'll have you know of my powers. Lin Fan's heart was pained right now. That was a bloody divine celestial level 7, all in one state powerful being. Initially, he had wanted the other party to act as his meat shield. That was the only reason why he didn't kill the evil alliance prince himself. To think that this bloody evil alliance prince would be this useless to get himself killed by the utmost being of the ancient race in the blink of an eye just like that. If he had known that this was the case, he would have done the deed himself. Mother * Sea King Human King, Lin Fan, you shall die today as well. The utmost being of the ancient race was hot on Lin Fan's pursuit as he commented calmly. To him, this human was akin to an ant. He was someone that he could crush in the blink of an eye. However, the thing that had the utmost being of the ancient race surprised was that this human's speed of escape was pretty darn fast. Back when Lin Fan was immersed in the library of the Cloud Sect, he had read intensively. As such, he cultivated some of the skills as well. Although they were eventually devoured by the skill spirits within his paradise, their essences were retrieved in order to boost his shortcomings. As such, it could only be said that Lin Fan's skills were only getting stronger at the same time. This was especially the case for Sinior, yet so far. Now that he had mastered it to a certain point, its speed was absolutely fast, leaving one in the dust from it. Now that he had come face to face with the utmost being of the ancient race, Lin Fan realized just how strong he was. In his hands, he was nothing more than a toy. Holy FCK, this is too damned vicious. If this were to carry on, I'd definitely be caught by him. Lin Fan knew that his speed was already pretty darn fast. However, against the utmost being of the ancient race, this just wasn't fast enough yet. To think that a single stride taken by that guy would be akin to crossing an infinite distance as he appeared behind Lin Fan's back. Mother ** Sea King Human King, Lin Fan. Ha 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 ha, the utmost being of the ancient race laughed out, as though he was mocking Lin Fan. Lin Fan shrugged his head as his mind went into a fuzz. What should he do now? Just what in the world should he do so that he could get out of the hands of this fella? This guy is toying with me intentionally. Lin Fan was fuming in his heart. Just like that, the utmost being of the ancient race was following Lin Fan with his hands behind his back. He was just maintaining that small distance between them all the way. But, this fella was just refusing to strike out at all. He was just taking his own sweet time, looking at Lin Fan run as though he was waiting to see how long more Lin Fan could run. You son of a b******. Lin Fan couldn't bear with it any longer. Taking out his 9-5 legendary brick, he braked immediately and swerved around, slamming the brick onto the face of the utmost being of the ancient race. Bam! The brick landed squarely on the face of the utmost being of the ancient race. Holy FCK, damned fella, Lin Fan did not want to think anymore. Since he couldn't run, the worst that could happen was him dying, that's all. But right now, there was something that Lin Fan was regretting. Why in the world hadn't the other party fainted from a slam of his 9-5 legendary brick? Could it be that it only worked if he slammed it at the back of the head of the other party? But, the utmost being of the ancient race was so strong. How could he possibly get the chance to do that? Little thing, what's wrong? Why aren't you running anymore? The utmost being of the ancient race looked down at Lin Fan with contemptuous eyes and chuckled. Huff, huff, run your mother. Come, aren't you just going to eat up yours truly? Come on, eat me then. Lin Fan patted at his own head and taunted overbearingly. Yours truly is going to stand right here today. If you don't eat yours truly, you're my little grandson. Lin Fan was a little sad right now. This fella was a damned piece of ****. The utmost being, cruel, looked down on this puny human. After that, he opened up his mouth widely as though it was a gigantic black hole. Looking at this black hole-like mouth, Lin Fan could not help but feel a little worried. Snap. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Just like that, Lin Fan was swallowed in a single mouthful and disappeared from the world entirely. At this moment, the only feeling Lin Fan could feel was the world revolving around him. His mind was in a state of a mess right now. To think that he was truly devoured by this guy. What sort of a tragedy was this? Lin Fan had never ever felt an exasperation of this sort. This was especially the case upon meeting the utmost being of the ancient race right now. This was the epitome of exasperation. There wasn't anything he could do about this at all. Even though his physical body state was that of a divine celestial level 8, universal elixir state, it didn't do anything for him before the doppelganger of the utmost being of the ancient race's essence spirit. In fact, Lin Fan could tell that this doppelganger of the utmost being of the ancient race's essence spirit had far surpassed everything. Even a powerful being of the thousands of races with the same divine celestial level 10, eternal god cultivation state as him wouldn't be his match at all. At this moment, Lin Fan floated slowly in a patch of darkness. Suddenly, he jerked open his eyes. Everything before him was dark and empty. He couldn't even see any hope before him. That spot of light. At this moment, Lin Fan caught sight of a single bit of light at the distance. I am the Evil Alliance Prince. I can't die. I can't die. At that moment, a tragic wail rang out. This was the essence spirit of the Evil Alliance Prince. Just as Lin Fan was about to head up and say hi to him, an astral wind attacked them. The essence spirit of the Evil Alliance Prince disappeared entirely, converted into pure power that seeped into the surrounding darkness. Holy FCK, this bloody utmost being of the ancient race is just digesting every single living being. At this moment, Lin Fan was feeling some slight discomfort and pain in his body. It was as though a corrosive energy was trying to dissolve him. FCK, utmost being of the ancient race. Since you dare to swallow yours truly into your stomach, you would really take yours truly as a pushover if yours truly didn't leave some mark here. Lin Fan's face changed. Instantly, he summoned out the heaven and earth smelt and dove straight into it. HMPH. With this divine protective item here, time to see how he's going to dissolve yours truly. Chapter 633, Dilemma, Dilemma. Chapter 633, Dilemma, Dilemma. Even though Lin Fan's strength was pretty strong, compared to the utmost being of the ancient race, he was still pretty insignificant. Taking a powerful being such as the Evil Alliance Prince for example, after being dissolved by the utmost being of the ancient race into pure power, the amount of power he resulted in was boundless and vast like the seas. However, for the utmost being of the ancient race, that power was nothing more than a single drop of water compared to his own vast ocean of powers, giving him little to no benefits at all. Let alone someone like Lin Fan right now. Within the heaven and earth smelt. Lin Fan sat there exasperatedly. Even if he were done in by the utmost being of the ancient race, he would still revive. However, if he were to be killed this easily by the utmost being, he wouldn't feel too good about it. This was way too indignant for him if he didn't create some ruckus or mess that was earth-shattering. Therefore, the inaugural General Congress had commenced. The Thunder Trainer King, Zigwang, Long Zon, Big Ancient Demon, Spirit of Bigra, and all the other spirits were gathered in a mass discussion. If there were anything that Lin Fan believed in, it was that unity was strength. Even 3 ignorant cobblers could compete with a single genius. There was nothing that couldn't be done with the collective wisdom of everyone present. Even though they didn't seem too reliable on a day-to-day basis, they could definitely come up with a supremely brilliant plan at the most critical juncture. At this moment, Lin Fan entrusted all of his hopes onto them. However, the ensuing discussion left him somewhat speechless and hard-wrenched. Master, I suggest that we should just go out and FCK it up with him. What are we afraid of? At the most, we'll just die together with him. The big ancient demon said. Master, I recommend that you let me out to train his heart. See, we're inside his body now. I'm practically right next to his heart. I believe that something like this is way more workable. The Thunder Trainer King said. Master, I agree with Brother Big Demon. Let's just FCK him up if we're unhappy. What are we afraid of? Brother Long Zon, what about you? Yes, everyone makes sense. ... Looking at the suggestions of everyone, Lin Fan shook his head helplessly. Seemed like this was the only way now. Boom. Suddenly, the heaven and earth smelt rattled. Seems like they're already starting to dissolve us. Lin Fan was still filled with confidence towards his heaven and earth smelt. After all, there was no grading to this treasure at all. No one could penetrate its defense. This was the case even for the utmost being of the ancient race. Due to the strong strength of the utmost being, his cultivating and refining powers were even greater. Be it a Tao weapon or an utmost treasure, as long as it was devoured by the utmost being, it would definitely be dissolved till there weren't even any scraps left. This was the overbearingness of the utmost being of the ancient race. As long as one was swallowed, it would be practically impossible for him or her to want to continue living on. After the heaven and earth smelt trembled for a few times, it settled down. Evidently, they had tided through it. However, there was something that was puzzling Lin Fan right now. Just what kind of sh*t was going on inside this body of the utmost being of the ancient race? Looking through the heaven and earth smelt, everything outside was pitch black. Within it, there were even stars that were flashing, as though this was a universe of its own. As for Lin Fan and the others who were in the heaven and earth smelt now, it was like they were riding on a spaceship. This spaceship did not have any inertia of its own, and was just descending down the endless darkness that stretched infinitely. Gradually, the darkness started to dissipate. The stars disappeared as well. Replacing it was blood and flesh. Ba-dump, ba-dump, a series of heartbeats sounded over. Lin Fan looked down from the smelt. This was where the innards of the utmost being of the ancient race were. Disembark, disembark, we're here. Lin Fan waved his hand as he got out of the heaven and earth smelt. Looking at his surroundings, he rubbed his chin. This should be worth a good ruckus. Master, take a look. There are a few old fogies who are caged there. As though he was Columbus who had just found new ground, the Thunder Trainer King suddenly exclaimed excitedly. Lin Fan looked over and his face changed immediately. Suddenly, it turned into a look of joy. It wasn't because he had found these living beings. It was because between these living beings, he had caught sight of an endless amount of Shenyang pills that were dropping and accumulating into mountains. Go, let's go and check out the situation. At this moment, Lin Fan and the others were carrying out an exploration of the utmost being's body. Every single part was filled with surprises. The discovery of what lied within this first stop had Lin Fan elated beyond words especially. This is a formation. Lin Fan had understood this scene before him. There were exactly 10 of these old men. They formed a circle with themselves. Each and every one of these living beings were chained with heavy shackles as they continued to cultivate Shenyang pills tirelessly. The mountain of Shenyang pills was vast and boundless. There was even a Shenyang dragon that was fumbling about this sea of Shenyang pills. Just a single look at it and Lin Fan could not even peel his eyes away any longer. There were so many that it was uncountable. In fact, Lin Fan could only use trillions to describe this number. If such a large amount of Shenyang pills were to erupt together, how horrifying would that be? It would probably be enough to even devastate the entire world. Unimaginable. This was way too unimaginable. The arrival of Lin Fan attracted the attention of these elderly figures. That never-changing face of theirs suddenly changed at his figure. There's a living being who has arrived. A living being has entered. Suddenly, the elderly figures began to clamor out with a look of disbelief on their faces. Save us. Hurry up and save us. Lin Fan had yet to figure out the situation of this place. However, when he caught sight of these elderly figures, he was pretty stumped. Scarlet Rainbow Demon, Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. Yudo Ghost Emperor, Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. Eon Fire God Emperor, Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. Holy FCK, why is each and every one of them are so bloody mighty? Lin Fan was stunned at this moment. To think that these 10 old fogies would be this strong. All of their cultivation states were heaven-defying. And, by the looks of it, these 10 old fogies were cultivating the Shenyang pills for the utmost being of the ancient race. Lin Fan did not know how long they had been trapped here for. However, by the amount of Shenyang pills in this place, they should have been here for a really, really long time now. The moment these 10 old fogies relaxed a little, those shackles that were binding them suddenly shone with a bright light, causing them to wail out in pain because of it. No, we mustn't stop. We've got to continue cultivating or we'll die. Afterward, these old fogies resumed cultivating once more. However, their gazes were all fixated on Lin Fan with a look of boundless joy. Lin Fan on the other hand wasn't all that happy right now. Based on his system checking out these fellas, all of their names were one more imposing than the other. By the looks of it, none of them seemed human at all. Who are you guys? Why are you here? Lin Fan asked suspiciously. The moment the 10 old fogies heard Lin Fan's question, they exchanged glances with one another. Then, they gave off a polite and amicable response. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon started. Little buddy, hey there. I am the unparalleled venerable Scarlet Rainbow. I've been locked up inside this place for tens of thousands of years because I went against the utmost being of the ancient race. I am the battle god, Yudo deity. I'm also caged up here because I went against the utmost being of the ancient race. The moment Lin Fan heard the bullshit of these old fogies, he was exasperated. Bloody hell, all of them were changing their faces entirely. They didn't even bother to use their names any longer. Furthermore, each of these new names sounded one more righteous than the other. If not for the system's check, he might have been deceived by them. But at this moment, Lin Fan chuckled in his heart. Disaster and good luck often came hand in hand. The legion of Shenyang pills before his eyes right now was simply way too dazzling. As for these 10 old fogies, they were giving Lin Fan a big headache right now as well. If he were to snuff all of them out, how strong would his cultivation state get? Bloody hell, wasn't that just boring? The end wasn't the most important portion on the path of cultivation. It was the process. If he were to reach the peak directly without even experiencing the process, what other fun would he have left in the future? Highs, dilemma. This is truly a dilemma. At this moment, Lin Fan's thoughts were starting to go astray once more. Chapter 634. I say, what are you guys anxious about? Chapter 634. I say, what are you guys anxious about? Lin Fan took some time to ease the pacing of his heart. He couldn't rush about this. No, he absolutely couldn't. No matter what, he would have to discuss this properly first. Soon after, Lin Fan squatted down somewhere in the distance along with the Thunder Trainer King and the others sneakily and began discussing. I've got no idea how this living being made his way inside here. However, no matter what, we must absolutely not let this chance pass by. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon said. Snatch. We must snatch him. There must be some way he's using to get through the refining powers of the utmost being, cruel. That's right. This is the inner world of the utmost being of the ancient race. If we take care to not make any loud actions, he wouldn't be able to sense us at all. However, what should we do so that this living being can trust us? What do you guys make of this? Those 10 old fogies don't seem like good guys. Should we FCK them up? Lin Fan was pretty excited in his heart right now. The 10 old fogies had such high cultivation states. Not only that, they had so many Shenyang pills at their disposal as well. If he could seize the chance and grab all of them, he would definitely soar into the heaven for sure. Master, can you please give me one of them? I want to give him a good training. Please, it's a divine celestial level 10, eternal God state being. I've yet to train up someone so powerful just yet. No problem. At this moment, those 10 old fogies seemed like fish on a cutting board that were ready to be sliced up. I feel that we should take the chance to exploit these old fogies properly. If we can get their skills, that'll be the best. By then, if we were to cultivate them and devour all of them up, we would be able to take in the essences within and have them fuse into our bodies to make up for our shortcomings. We'll truly have struck gold at that time. The spirit of Bigra said. The moment the spirit of Bigra said these words, the skill gods within the paradise began to cheer excitedly. Each of them nodded their heads in agreement as though they were raring for it to happen. Yup, that's a decent plan. That might do. Lin Fan agreed without hesitating as well. In this place, everything that he obtained was definitely going to be a trade that was profitable without any bit of loss for sure. Even if he were discovered by the utmost being, cruel, so what? At the very most, wouldn't he just die, duh? Since he had already passed the beings of the succubus race a single drop of his blood to escape with, he could easily revive at any moment. However, all the credit still had to go to the system, no matter what. Because of the system's storage, even if he were killed, the items within him wouldn't pop out into the world. Coupled with rebirth through blood, this was definitely going against the natural orders of the world. These two parties of people, each harboring their own evil intents, met with one another once more. Hey, little buddy, we're all beings of the thousands of races. We must stand together against the ancient race. How about you unlock our shackles and we'll kill our way out of this place together? The Scarlet Rainbow Demon asked. Right, all for the sake of the beings of the thousands of races, for love, for peace. In order to overthrow the ancient race, we're willing to sacrifice anything. The Yudo Ghost Emperor continued. Little buddy, a single look at you is enough to tell that you're a righteous individual. It's a form of affinity for us to be able to meet in a place like this. The Eon Fire God Emperor added on. ... Each of them spoke as if it were the truth of their hearts. Lin Fan was filled with helplessness right now. Seemed like there are truly people who could give up their whole dignities just to scam other people. This was especially the case for these old fogies. Every single word was spoken as though it was a gospel of truth. A single careless mistake and one might find themselves taken in by them. It had been a long time since these old fogies have been imprisoned here. They had had enough of this. However, they never ever had the chance to get out of this place. Since the chance was here, no matter how slim it might be, they didn't want to let it go at all. Alright, I can help you guys get out. However, you've got to let all of your true skill seeds out of your body. I'll choose from them, Lin Fan replied. All of those old fogies were stunned. To think that this young living being would be so straightforward with his words and talk about the benefits straight up. However, at this moment, how would any of the old fogies dare to reject this proposition? It was imperative that they got him in their hands first to scam him. Little buddy, take a look and choose however you'd like. Whichever one you prefer, take it and learn. If you like all of them, you can have all of them. Instantly, countless true skill seeds burst forth from their bodies, floating around the heads of everyone present. All of these true skill seeds bore different colors and sizes. They were all unusually strong, with the figures of their respective skill gods standing above their seeds. So strong. The moment these true skill seeds appeared, Lin Fan found himself blinded by them. However, weren't these old fogies too much? To think that each of them would have learned such a large amount of skills. Not only that, they had even trained these skills up to an extreme extent. Little buddy, I've got a heaven-encompassing palm strike. That's really overbearing here. You can check it out. I've got a really strong skill here too. The moment you deploy it, you'll become completely unperceivable and invincible within the world. Alright, stop bragging now. Even if it's invincible within the world, didn't you still get captured by the utmost being of the ancient race? Lin Fan replied with straight-up disdain. After that, he started looking at these true skill seeds one by one and touched them with his fingers. Ding! Congratulations on discovering true skill seed, heaven-encompassing palm strike. The essence spirit of the Scarlet Rainbow Demon is hidden within. Learn. Learn. Lin Fan chuckled coldly in his heart. He had known from the start that these old fogies wouldn't bear any good intents in their actions. However, unknown to them, yours truly is someone with a system. There wasn't a need to slowly figure out the intricacies of these true skill seeds or devour them before learning them on his own. Lin Fan believed that as long as one's consciousness were embedded in these true skill seeds, the essence spirit within them would naturally devour the essence spirits of the victims the moment they swallowed these true skill seeds. By then, their bodies would be snatched and forcefully reborn with the other party's consciousness. However, in case of an old bird such as Lin Fan, there was no way he was going to get tricked so easily with this. Furthermore, he had this heaven-defying system in his hands. Playing with yours truly, these guys were still way too young for that. Ayo, what a dilemma this is. Which one should I learn? Lin Fan touched every single true skill seed and had the system learn them. However, he made sure to maintain that troubled look on his face at all times. Little buddy, you can just infuse your consciousness within. I'll impart it over to you and you can learn it in an instance. Therefore, there's no trouble even if you were to learn every single true skill seeds there is in this place. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon chimed. Why are you hurrying me? I say, what are you hurrying me for? Let me take a look myself and choose the one most suitable for me. Lin Fan was the big daddy right now. All of these old fogies had to depend on him no matter what. Alright, little buddy, alright. Whatever makes you happy. Noticing that Lin Fan was somewhat displeased, the Scarlet Rainbow Demon replied with a smiling face immediately. However, his heart was burning with rage. Damned fella, once I snatch you over, I'll definitely have you suffer a life worse than death. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon had trodden over all the ancient times. Even though he had made this mistake here, he was still someone with a supreme and unparalleled might. How could he be lectured by a young one as such? Heavenly Fire Secret, Universe-Destructing Fist. ... The skills of these old fogies are all one more overbearing than the other. Not bad, not bad. Lin Fan was laughing in his heart. Each time he learned them, the skill gods in his paradise would erupt in cheers and pounce forth towards them. This universe-destructing fist belongs to the same class as me, but it sings a different tune in terms of style. If I were to take his talents and boost myself, I would be able to level up once more. The Doomsday Calamity Spirit laughed wildly. This Heavenly Fire Secret can help me to materialize my true body. I've got to absorb it. The fire of the 5 elements cried out as a surge of flames flew over, caging the Heavenly Fire Secret within it. Instantly, it was absorbed. In the blink of an eye, the fire of the 5 elements jerked as a man draped in flaming red robes floated gently in the paradise. Lin Fan was elated right now. All of the skill gods in his paradise were exhilarated. Devouring these skills of such powerful beings was immensely beneficial for them. However, all of these old fogies were getting more hurried than ever. Why in the world was this fella just watching and not learning at all? This was really nerve-wracking. Little buddy, are you done choosing? What are you chasing me for? What are you getting anxious about? Can't you tell that I'm making my choice here? Lin Fan replied impatiently. Oh, don't worry, no haste, little buddy. Take your time. Chapter 635, 3 trillion Shenyang pills. Chapter 635, 3 trillion Shenyang pills. Do you guys think that this living being has discovered our ploy? That's impossible. We've hidden our essence spirits with the true skill seeds. We're not going to be found out that easily. Or perhaps, this living being is truly just making a slow choice. Hurry up, hurry up. If the utmost being of the ancient race were to find out that this living being isn't being cultivated by him at this moment, all our efforts would have been for naught. The 10 elderly figures were getting anxious now. However, Lin Fan was just taking his own sweet time. He was thinking about one thing. A powerful being such as the utmost being of the ancient race would definitely be able to sense any disturbance within his own body. If that were the case, Lin Fan could probably only do one of the two, snatch the sea of Shenyang pills or kill these old fogies. Oh, how frustrating is this? The idea of making a choice was really a tough nut to crack right now. However, if Lin Fan truly had to choose, he would go for these Shenyang pills which could only be counted in terms of trillions. Lin Fan's knowledge right now was far from the knowledge he had known back then. Ever since he had read intensively in the library of the Cloud Sect, there were many figures of gods of wisdom that appeared within his mind. These wisdom gods would help Lin Fan to plan and strategize to come up with the best way of settling issues. However, despite that, there would be times when Lin Fan would disregard their opinions and go along with his instinct. Even though these 10 elderly figures were of a divine celestial level 10, eternal god state, the only thing that was truly left to their names was in fact, just their names after being entrapped by the utmost being, cruel, here for such a long time. They should be just a shell of their divine celestial level 10, eternal god state right now, without the equivalent power to boot. Being trapped here for 10,000 years and forced to cultivate Shenyang pills day and night without being able to cultivate, their course should have been long destroyed. As for this circular way they were seated right now, it was probably just a mere formation to cultivation Shenyang pills, and that was all. How strong was the utmost being, cruel. He was someone who could just absorb in all the saint spirit chi in the area with a single breath. That was a horrifying existence. Heck, even if one were to whip the mythical parasol tree right now, it wouldn't be able to match that speed at all. And all that saint spirit chi was handed over to allow these old fogies here to cultivate with it endlessly and limitlessly. The Shenyang pills here had been accumulated for God knows how many years, and it was like a vast sea right now. If he could get it all, he would truly have struck gold. Entirely, thoroughly struck gold. On the contrary, if he were to kill an old fogey, that would cause a change in the entire formation. With the powers of the utmost being, cruel, he would most definitely be able to sense that instantly. By then, it would be a real question as to whether or not Lin Fan could get to kill all of these old fogies. As Lin Fan was standing there, his brain was slowly moving and making a choice silently. On the other hand, it was a pure panic fest for these old fogies. The reason why they had revealed their true skill seeds were so that this living being could take the bait. However, to their exasperation, this living being wasn't taking any action, and was just revolving around the true skill seeds just like that. Little buddy, how is it going? Is there any skill that you're interested in? If there isn't any, we can try putting all of our true skill seeds into your body then. From there, we can assist you and try to fuse these true skill seeds with your body. With that, your cultivation state shall soar into the heavens and break through all sorts of obstacles in your way. It's alright, none of these true skill seeds suit me at all. However, it still isn't much of an issue for me to help break you guys out of your shackles. The main question is, how do I open them? Lin Fan smiled gently. This sentence of Lin Fan had offended the 10 elderly figures here. These shackles were personally empowered by the utmost being, cruel. How could it be something that would be opened this easily? However, now that such a rare opportunity was dangling before their faces, how could they possibly bear to give it up? Hence, they started going into deep pondering. Along with the old fogies, Lin Fan thought as well. His gaze then turned into the center of the formation where the dense Shenyang Pills River laid such that it had already turned into a dimension of its own. How many Shenyang pills are there? Lin Fan asked. 3 trillion. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon was still troubled over the issue of the shackles. However, this living being before him was the big daddy here, so he had an obligation to respond. The moment Lin Fan heard the actual number, he was taken aback somewhat in disbelief. 3 trillion. How FC King crazy was this? Even if he were to count for all eternity, he might not even be able to finish counting all of them. If these 3 trillion Shenyang pills were to burst forth from a Dao weapon, Lin Fan wondered if this could even bust a breach in the entire ancient saint world. Standing before the Shenyang Pill River, a thought came into Lin Fan's mind, I'll give it a shot. I've got nothing to lose anyway. Compared to these old fogies, this is way more valuable anyways. 3 trillion. 3 goddamn trillion. I may not even be able to cultivate this much in my entire lifetime. At this moment, the utmost being of the ancient race had opened forth a path for Lin Fan. He hated himself for not coming up with this idea first. The idea of enslaving a bunch of powerful beings to have them churn out Shenyang pills for him in his paradise all day and night. If he had thought of that, he wouldn't be as poor as he was right now. Little buddy, what are you trying to do? Little buddy, all of these Shenyang pills belongs to the utmost being of the ancient race. You mustn't touch them at all cost. The moment you touch them, he would be sure to sense it. By then, it'd be too late for all of us. Little buddy, looking at how Lin Fan was stepping into the sea of Shenyang pills, the 10 elderly figures wanted to stop him as their faces took a huge turn. However, it was all too late for that. They knew that this vast amount of Shenyang pills was definitely a heavenly fortune for any being of the thousands of races. One couldn't possibly peel their eyes off of this. After all, this was the stash of the utmost being that he had accumulated over 10,000 years. Haha, all of you bloody old undead shish ts. How dare you plant your consciousness within your true skill seeds? If yours truly had really delved in, yours truly might have been snatched over by you guys. But your sneaky and devious tricks are way too naive in the eyes of yours truly here. All of these Shenyang pills. I'll accept them graciously. Rock's breath, paradise. In a jiffy, Lin Fan opened his mouth wide, and with a breath that was as humongous as mountains, he sucked in the Shenyang pills endlessly into his tummy. At this moment, an immense amount of energy burst forth as his paradise caged this entire sea of Shenyang pills within it. A Shenyang pill dragon was devoured by Lin Fan just like that. 1 trillion in his hands. Using a claw-like grip, Lin Fan reached out and grasped at yet another Shenyang pill dragon, tossing it within his paradise. 2 trillion pills in his hands. 1 trillion Shenyang pills was equivalent to 1 Shenyang pill dragon. Why, you're mad. The 10 elderly figures were pale with shock at how wantonly this living being was stealing the Shenyang pills. What use would he have even if he stole them? This was still within the body of the utmost being, cruel. It was not as though he would have a chance to make it out later on. In the blink of an eye, 3 trillion Shenyang pills were stolen by Lin Fan just like that. But, before Lin Fan could even celebrate over this, the void above him trembled as a gigantic vortex appeared above him. Living being, how dare you steal at the riches of your utmost being here? You deserve death for your crimes. An overbearingly shrill voice whirled out of the vortex. The moment the elderly figures heard this voice, their faces changed immediately as they let out shouts in an endless amount of fear. Before Lin Fan knew it, a figure had appeared all of a sudden before him. The utmost being, cruel, looked at this living being before him. Even though there was no expression on his face, his heart was a little jolted. He could not really understand how this living being could dodge his refining powers. Anything that entered his belly, even if it were an utmost treasure, it would definitely be refined into a pure stream of energy. However, none of this mattered to the utmost being, cruel. After all, the outcome of this living being was none other than death itself. Cruel, you're the one who swallowed me. Whether or not you can refine me into your body is none of my business. As for these 3 trillion Shenyang pills of yours, they are all mine whether you like it or not. There's no way you're getting them back. Lin Fan snorted coldly. The true powers of the utmost being were indefinitely strong, which was something that Lin Fan knew. However, to Lin Fan, the most important thing in life was fighting. Even if he couldn't fight, he had to die. The utmost being, cruel, did not say anything more. Opening his hands that covered the entire sky, he grabbed out at Lin Fan. Chapter 636, Man, feels good to have a backing. Chapter 636, Man, feels good to have a backing. At the place where the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race resided, 8 towering spires stood in a circle. In the center laid a bottomless, pitch-black abyss. A woman with breathtaking features and an unparalleled might was kept within. Cruel, the intent of fire and water isn't something that you can peep at. Even though the fire-water empress was trapped within this endless abyss by the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race, her aura hadn't diminished because of it. With the fire-water robes draped over her body, her aura was ever so dominating. Fire and water were never meant to coexist. No matter how deep the cultivation state of the fire-water empress was or how far she had trodden over the entire ancient times to wield control over these 2 true essences, the path of fusing them together was still a process that was arduously slow. However, the aura that she was emanating right now was somewhat strange. The gentleness and soothing powers of water, and the berserk and merciless powers of fire were intertwining with one another. The extremities of yin and yang along with the logic and wisdom of the universe laid beneath her feet. It was as though every single step she took could reverse yin and yang and upturn the heaven and earth. Fire-water empress, your aura. How could it be? The true body of Cruel looked at the fire-water empress before him and let out a look of astonishment. The fire-water empress chuckled snidely, you wouldn't understand. That's right, I wouldn't. But, I'll have you know that I bumped into something really interesting today. From a being of the human race, I caught a trace of your aura. However, he has been devoured into my tummy and is now stuck there, unable to escape. Cruel laughed out. The moment the fire-water empress heard this, her brows creased. Someone with a trace of her aura. Could it be that fella? Oh, it seems like you do know him then. I suppose the reason behind the fusion of your dual twin essences must be because of him then, To think that the pure and irreproachable fire-water empress who has trodden over the ancient times and reincarnated multiple times would take a liking to a being of the human race who is just like an ant. Indeed, that's how far you've fallen from grace. Ha ha, Cruel laughed wildly as though he was really pleased. Cruel, you're honestly nothing but a young punk. If not for the repression of the heavens will, your emperor here would have had you slaughtered like a dog long ago. Do you believe that you'll definitely die if you lay your hands on that human? The fire-water empress's gaze was sharp. It was as though her words should never be doubted in the least bit. Cruel's face turned terrible gradually. It was as though this warning of the fire-water empress was causing him to feel really displeased. HMPH, fire-water empress, you can't even protect yourself right now. You had better just take care of yourself first. No, I won't kill that human. I'll just turn him into my slave and endure torments day and night. I'll let you have a good look how someone whom you have chosen shall end up as a dirty and loyal dog for the ancient race. Cruel growled menacingly. At the start of the Manwang, the fire and water were born as a radiant light that filled the heaven and earth. Instantly, the long robes of the fire-water empress started moving on their own without any wind. Her gentle, tender hands danced in the air smoothly. Time, space, one by one, they appeared before the fire-water empress. A series of images appeared as though they were passing through all of eternity. The living spirits were inspiring and bringing on all spirits. Fire allowed the living beings to escape a life of living like beasts while water cleansed these living beings of their dirtiness. These series of images ran through like a story, depicting an era after another. All the living beings were worshipping fire and water. To these countless living beings, these were God's spirits bestowed upon them by the heavens. Gradually, fire and water started to develop a spiritual consciousness of their own and began to break free from this. Boom, the fire-water empress pointed out with her finger. A beam of light that pierced through everything and penetrated into the body of Cruel. My powers are unparalleled and supreme. My might shall be compared to no one else. No matter how the world changes, my essence spirit shall never be destroyed, ever. At that moment, Cruel's face changed. Fire-water empress. To think that you would dare to strike out. Cruel, in my eyes, you're far too weak. Look at the other utmost beings. Which one of them hasn't existed for a long time now? You're the only pitiful worm amongst all of them. Without any anger or despair, the fire-water empress gradually retreated back into her darkness. Damn it, looking at everything, Cruel's heart was burning with a boundless rage. There was no way he could tolerate this. At this same moment, Lin Fan was welcoming the attack of Cruel. Even though he was a little nervous in his heart, he wasn't afraid at all. Master, give me 150 billion Shenyang pills and let me unleash my powers in my full berserk. The big ancient demon howled out. Right now, they were no longer paupers. That endless supply of Shenyang pills was enough for them to run rampant to a certain extent, unleashing a power that no one could hope to compare with. Me too, my ways of training are getting insatiable. Alright, everyone, prepare. So what if it's the utmost being of the ancient race? Today, we'll let him know about our might. Burn, burn. In that instant, hundreds of billions of Shenyang pills burst forth and erupted. Converting into a boundless stream of energy river, they surged into the demon city and the body of the Thunder Trainer King. Ah, the big ancient demon growled out in fury as the aura of his body was getting stronger by the second. One by one, mysterious runic symbols glowed with an essence gleam as a mythical power was emanated from them. The big ancient demon, the king of all demons. Bastard, how dare you use the wealth of your utmost being for yourself? Go to hell, all of you. Cruel yelled out as an endless rage burned within his body. Cruel, don't you dare go overboard. When your demon king here was striding over the ancient saint world, you were still playing in the mud in your mother's titties. You go to hell. The big ancient demon hollered out as he punched out with a fist. An incredible amount of power surged forth. This fist was earth-shattering, enough to devastate anything before it. Brother Big Demon, let me help you. Under the booster of the Shenyang pills, the body of the Thunder Trainer King was buff and bulked right now as well. Seated on a 12-grade lotus seat, the long whip in his hand danced. Peace. The long whip swung out into the sky and lashed out sharply on Cruel's palm. How can this be? Cruel's face changed immediately. The burning of billions of Shenyang pills had allowed the big ancient demon and the Thunder Trainer King to unleash their strongest moves. This move was enough to annihilate the entire world. Even if it were a god, he too would have to be destroyed. Even though this was quite the sting to Lin Fan's heart, it would all be worth it if he could get rid of this doppelganger. However, Lin Fan could tell that this skill was way too extravagant, wasn't it? To think that it would cost a few hundred billions of Shenyang pills. What sort of an idea was this? The utmost being, Cruel, had taken over 10,000 years for these 3 trillion pills. And just like that, he had used up 10% of it so easily. This way of spending it was way too scary. Crack, under the might of this move, the arm of Cruel began to crumble down as though it could not withstand the force of it. Be-starred, how dare you destroy my arm? I'll have you dead. Right now, Cruel was incensed. A fearsome amount of energy rippled out from him. Utmost being, spare us. Utmost being, spare us. The 10 elderly figures started begging. They were like little boats in the middle of a raging tsunami right now. They didn't have any control of their own and could just be sunken at any moment. Cruel swept his robes and shifted the 10 elderly figures elsewhere. The 10 of them were his fortune. He couldn't let them die just like that. He would still have to depend on them to cultivate out more Shenyang pills for him in the future. Human, you've got to die today. The body of the utmost being, Cruel, began to expand rapidly as his aura did the same. At this moment, Lin Fan was exasperated. If this were to go on, what was he to do? Even if he had 3 trillion Shenyang pills, it was pretty impossible for him to kill this guy with that. After all, he himself was far too weak right now. Boom! Just as Lin Fan was prepared to receive his death, a mysterious energy tunneled through and surrounded Cruel within. Fire Water Empress, how dare you use my true body to penetrate over here? You want to save this human? But, I'll never let you succeed. Cruel screamed out. Slapping out with his palm, he covered Lin Fan up like the 5-finger mountains. At this moment, Lin Fan was still not too sure of the exact circumstances. However, the moment he heard the name of the Fire Water Empress, he leapt with joy in his heart. So, this was how good it felt to have someone backing oneself. At critical moments, there would always be someone to assist one. However, Lin Fan was not going to express gratitude for this favor. After all, his weak and feeble body had endured the trampling of the Fire Water Empress. It was only right that she gave him some compensation for it. But, looking at the situation right now, Cruel was suppressing his own powers so that he could deal with the Fire Water Empress powers first. Most likely, once he had taken down the powers that the Fire Water Empress had sent over to assist him with, he would come over and deal with Lin Fan. Chapter 637, Degeneracy of Morals. Chapter 637, Degeneracy of Morals. Cruel's powers converged into a gigantic arm, caging Lin Fan within. As though each of its fingers were interconnected with one another in some manner, they formed an indestructible light barrier that had Lin Fan trapped within them. To think that yours truly would be able to fight against the utmost being of the ancient race, Cruel, to this extent with just my strength right now. This is pretty unimaginable. Lin Fan was pretty satisfied with his behavior. He felt that he was way too cool right now. Even though there was that bit of luck that had attributed to this as well, Lin Fan wouldn't admit to it no matter what. After all, to Lin Fan, it was all because he was way too awesome. However, at this moment, Lin Fan wanted to seize the opportunity when Cruel was too preoccupied to bother about him and make his escape out of this place. These 5 fingers looked extremely menacing just on the surface itself. Seemed like it wasn't going to be easy to get out of this. He would probably have to go out with all he had. Ziguang, Long Zan, I'm counting on you guys. Lin Fan turned over to the both of them. Master, don't worry, we'll definitely give it our best. Ziguang and Long Zan nodded seriously. Alright, it's time for me to perform now. Lin Fan burst out laughing. Burn, 100 billion Shenyang pills. Boom. At this moment, Flying Heavens was practically going nuts entirely. Lin Fan grabbed onto Flying Heavens and cultivated out a hand conveniently as well. With that, the Flying Heavens electric drill was completed. Whether or not this succeeded would depend on this thing now. Clang, clang, clang. Lin Fan wielded the Flying Heavens electric drill as it began to start rotating. The mighty vibration caused Lin Fan's body to tremble along with it as well. Ayo, seems like it's a little tough, To think that even after burning up 100 billion Shenyang pills, Lin Fan couldn't burst a breach in it with one single strike. However, looking at how there was some signs of damage on the 5 fingers, his heart heaved a sigh of relief. As long as there was some impact, he was sure that it would definitely succeed eventually. Time passed gradually. Lin Fan's heart was elated right now. He was getting closer and closer to success. Break, bam, the 5 fingers suddenly erupted out. Lin Fan stood up and wiped off beads of sweat from his forehead, revealing a hardened smile. Haha, trap me here, you're way too naive for that. Right now, Lin Fan was full of equipment for all sorts of situations. He could definitely make his way out of all sorts of sticky situations with ease. However, the current situation right now had him pretty confused. Cruel had suddenly disappeared. Lin Fan did not know where he had gone to, neither did he know what he was supposed to do right now. Bloody hell, FCK it. Lin Fan did not want to think anymore at this moment. Since this was the case, then he was just going to have to give it his all and try to get out of this place. Chi of Bigra. Without any single bit of hesitation, Lin Fan slapped out with his palm. An endless amount of Bigra seeped out and permeated the surroundings. Even though Cruel was an utmost being of the ancient race, so what? The Chi of Bigra was an invincible existence. As long as one was a living being, one would definitely be unable to pull oneself out of it. This dense amount of Chi of Bigra filled up the entire place. Even though his surroundings were vast, it was no problem for the Chi of Bigra at all. After all, this Chi of Bigra right now was acting as Lin Fan's eyes, it could seek out an exit for him. True Origin's crushing kick, Black Tiger Steel's heart, twisting heaven and earth. These three great evil moves had long reached a state of extraordinary impact. A single use of any one of them was enough to devastate the entire world and cause gods and ghosts to weep in its presence, rendering anyone unable to resist them at all. The sky was filled with imprints of his feet as palm slaps slammed out all the way as well. One day, I, Lin Fan, am going to be in utmost existence in this world. This little, puny place shall not even dream of keeping me in here. Lin Fan roared out while sending an immense amount of force that wanted to rip this unknown place. Of course, all of this was overthinking on Lin Fan's part. Ah, it's so hot. Scarlet Rainbow Demon, what are you doing? Stop. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it no longer. ... Just as Lin Fan was about to give up resisting, he heard this series of murmurs. Holy FCK, could it be them? Suddenly, Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy. He was feeling insane right now. To think that he could already have gotten those Shenyang pills. Could it be that he could possibly take away with him 10 divine celestial level 10, eternal god state beings from this place as well? Brothers, attack! Lin Fan beckoned with his hands. He sprinted forth into the distance with a heart of excitement. The Thunder Trainer King was long dying of lust to train these powerful beings. Therefore, he followed after Lin Fan fervently. Master, wait for me. Bring me with you for this pleasure ahead. Alright, Lin Fan had not expected that this vent of frustration at the walls would have broken through to some unknown place. And with that, the Chi of Bigra then seeped in, causing those 10 old fogies to enter a berserk state right now. By the time Lin Fan came before these 10 old fogies, he was completely blinded due to the sight before him. The image of 10 old fogies huddled up together. Well, honestly, it would be up to the listeners and readers to imagine if they wanted to. Holy FCK, this is utterly savage. This single image, this is worse than beasts could ever be. Lin Fan was enraged right now. This was a degeneracy of morals right here. Why you guys? How could you? Lin Fan pointed out with his trembling fingers at this unbelievable sight before his eyes. What's this? What's in this mist? Why are things happening like this? Scarlet Rainbow Demon, you had better stop right now. You asked me to stop. Then why are you touching me? I can't hold it in anymore. ... Master, how's my new masterpiece? Ever since I fused more skills into it, my medicinal effects have gotten way stronger. All of these impressive looking but ultimately useless eternal god state powerful beings. I can seduce even their hearts right now. The spirit of Bigra declared proudly. Divine celestial level 10, eternal god state beings. Which one of them weren't beings that were resolute and firm in the heart? Most charm tactics and tricks wouldn't work on people like them at all. However, the spirit of Bigra had evolved. He could even lure away the hearts of these people now. It's you, you're the one who did this. Hurry up and release us from this. You beast. I hate you, utmost being, please save us. ... The moment these old fogies heard the words of the spirit of Bigra, they started bellowing out madly. Even though they did not wish to do so in their hearts, their bodies were betraying them right now, causing them to engage in such shamelessly despicable acts. Master, these guys, how should we deal with them? The Thunder Trainer King looked at the bodies of these old fogies with an insatiable hunger. How nice would it be if he could bring all of them back to his academy for electroconvulsive therapy? Perhaps he might even be able to come up with some new training methods from their bodies. After all, one must always move with the times and create more gimmicks. Keep 8 of them and we'll kill 2. Lin Fan opened up the panel of his system and checked it out. The experience points that he required for leveling up were just about there. He should be able to level up by killing 2 of them. As for the others, he would just have to whip them into shape and toss them into his paradise, training them to cultivate Shenyang pills for him day and night. This plan seemed extremely sturdy to Lin Fan. There shouldn't be any issues with this. Our master is wise. The moment the Thunder Trainer King heard these words, he leapt with joy immediately. This meant that he would be able to train up 8 of them. Exciting. This was just pure euphoria. No, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm willing to submit to you. ... The moment these old fogies heard that Lin Fan was going to kill 2 of them, they were suddenly extremely nervous in their hearts. They were shackled down by the locks of Cruel, rendering them unable to resist at all. At the same time, they did not know what was happening to the utmost being right now. Then, that's going to be difficult. Lin Fan looked over at the old fogies who were in a series of tears and snot right now, feeling helpless. Just who should he kill? After that, Lin Fan's brows twitched as a plan entered his head. I've got an idea. Chapter 638. Such heaven-defying encounters. Chapter 638. Such heaven-defying encounters. What are you trying to do? Looking at how this fellow was facing them, the Scarlet Rainbow Demon began to feel fear in his heart. Little buddy, what are you trying to do? Can we talk this out nicely? I've got a specialty skill that I didn't take out earlier on. I'm willing to hand it over to you now. ... At this moment, those old fogies were starting to feel terror one after another. They had suddenly realized that this living being was a sicko, a beast. Yes, you, old fogey. You were hiding something earlier on. Lin Fan's face was straight as he asked sternly. And nopes. No, I didn't. HMPH. Don't try to talk your way out of this. Then, you shall be the first one. How can you not be truthful towards someone as just and righteous as myself? This is something that the heavens shall not tolerate. Chop you then. I'll just chop you then. Lin Fan swept his robes back, not wanting to say anything more. No please. Please spare my life. Even if you beg me, it's useless. It's all because you're way too dishonest as a person. Lin Fan replied. Ah, I'm the Reverend Heaven Shredder who has trodden over all the ancient times. Since when have I ever been as lowly as right now? I'm unwilling to accept this. You little beast, I'll curse that you to die a horrible death. Reverend Heaven Shredder roared with anger with indignance in his heart. He had not expected this to be his outcome one day. This was something he had never ever imagined. As for the other old fogies, they heaved a sigh of relief at the sight of this instantly. Thank goodness. Towards the ending of Reverend Heaven Shredder, they couldn't help but feel a bit sad. However, they were more relieved than anything else. With that, the chances of them surviving was way higher right now. Now, who is going to be the next unlucky one? Waving his hands, Lin Fan tossed Reverend Heaven Shredder into his paradise. Alright, next up, we'll be very fair about it. Now, whoever lives or dies shall depend on the will of the heavens then. Lin Fan's back faced them. Wielding the eternal axe in his hands, he sucked in a deep breath. All of you, stand up straight. Don't move randomly. I'm coming. This was the first time in Lin Fan's life that he was playing a game like this. Alright, here it comes. At this moment, everyone present looked at that axe that was tossed up into the sky nervously. The eternal axe shone with a brilliant glare in the skies. However, to those old fogies, this glare was less than beautiful. It was practically the luminescence of death. Whomsoever had this axe land on his head, it would be utter bad luck for them. No, don't come over here. Not here please. Don't toss it at me. No please. At this moment, all the old fogies were begging in their hearts and praying. Instantly, a wail rang out. How could it be me? I'm the Scarlet Rainbow Demon. How can I die like this? It can't be. This is absolutely impossible. The Scarlet Rainbow Demon could not bear to believe the sight before him right now. That eternal axe that had landed by his side was ever so blinding and gut-smashing right now. Seems like the outcome has been decided. This is the will of the heavens. You've got no one to blame, Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Right after that, he waved his hands and sent them into his paradise. Master, I'll go ahead and train these guys, alright? The Thunder Trainer King asked excitedly. Sure, Lin Fan nodded his head. Alright, all of you, follow me. I shall lead you guys to the peak of your lives and experience pleasure like you have never ever known before. The Thunder Trainer King's face was benevolent right now as he said this. However, in the eyes of the old fogies, that was a look so unsettled and horrifying. It was as though something frightening was about to happen real soon. However, at this moment, they did not want to think too much about it. After all, it was all useless. Seeing these old fogies that were brought away by the Thunder Trainer King, Lin Fan felt a deep sorrow for them. To think that they would still be so fearful of death after cultivating to such an extent. In order to remain alive, they didn't even have a single bit of dignity left in them. Seemed like the more one possessed, the more one would be afraid of losing. Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State. If they were in the ancient saint world right now, they would undoubtedly be truly powerful beings. Riches, status, respect, power. They wouldn't be lacking in any one of those. That's the reason why they were so fearful towards death as well. However, to Scarlet Rainbow Demon and the others, this was also a form of release. For once, it was truly all over. They would be free from their suffering and enslavement. The branches of the mythical parasol tree were coiled around the scarlet rainbow demon and the reverend heaven shredder as it absorbed the power within their bodies. Even though these two fellas had been through 10,000 years of torment and were left with only a shell of their former selves, they were still eternal God state beings no matter what. As such, they still had that bit of their cores left with them. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State Powerful Being. Ding! Experience points plus 1 million feet. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State Powerful Being. Ding! Experience points plus 1,200,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on leveling up. Cultivation State. Divine Celestial Level 5, Essence Spirit State. Instantly, Lin Fan felt his powers starting to gush up like a rapid, long river that was surging rampantly. His powers were climbing steadily as they reached a new peak. Within his inner world, Lin Fan could sense a mysterious feeling as well. It was as though there was a second him who was living within his body right now. Within his inner world, an essence spirit was nurtured out. It sat there cross-legged with the exact same cultivation state as him. Between the both of them, there was this intense connection. Even if they were at two extreme ends of the world, it seemed as though he would be able to sense this connection. The essence spirit was himself, and he was the essence spirit. Seems like this is the essence spirit doppelganger. Lin Fan could sense this wondrous feeling of an interconnected telepathic link that was intertwined. With just a single notion, a figure appeared before Lin Fan. Lin Fan checked out his essence spirit doppelganger curiously. However, he had this strange feeling in his mind that someone was checking him out. This was a really mysterious feeling. It was too mysterious for words. The paradise, essence spirit, law, and every other good thing that the Scarlet Rainbow Demon and the Reverend Heaven Shredder possessed was fused into the paradise. However, the only thing that had Lin Fan regretting was that the Scarlet Rainbow Demon and Reverend Heaven Shredder had been crippled by the utmost being, cruel. Otherwise, if they had their true strength as Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God State beings, these would definitely not be the only benefit they would be giving off right now. But, oh well, one might as well forget it. The benefits of today were pretty bountiful for now. After all, there was no way he was going to be able to take down this Cruel himself. Later on, once Cruel broke down the power that was sent by the Fire Water Empress, he would definitely come for Lin Fan himself. Even though it was almost certain that Lin Fan would die, he might even have to go through a round of torture before his death. If that were the case, he might as well commit suicide here. Lin Fan looked at the pitch-black darkness in the distance. This place was akin to a world of its own, vast and boundless. Seemed like the body of a powerful being was nowhere as simple as he had thought it to be. If this were the case, the only way he could go about it was to continue raising his cultivation state. By the time he reached this equivalent cultivation state, he might then start to understand just what sort of an existence this was. However, he wondered how the Fire Water Empress and Cruel were doing now. Lin Fan could tell that even though this was a doppelganger of Cruel, it was no pushover. No matter how strong the Fire Water Empress was, there was no way she could be a match for Cruel with just a strain of her powers. Hey, since I've already earned more than I could have ever asked for, even if I die now, I'm not going to lose anything with it. To think that yours truly's encounters would be this deeply tied with fate. Even in a dangerous place as such, I could receive endless benefits. This is indeed the best feeling ever. Instantly, a large amount of energy burst forth from Lin Fan. Well, it's time to see whether I can bring some trouble for Cruel by self-destructing today. Lin Fan thought in anticipation. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. If there were anyone who wanted to compete in ruthlessness, Lin Fan would definitely be the champion. After all, he was a man who had dared to steal his own peaches in the past. And right now, he was going for the big blow-up suicide. How was anyone not going to bow down to courage as such? All right, go and burst for me. Lin Fan yelled out in a high tone as he opened up his arms wide, prepared to receive this brand new future that laid in store for him. But, just as Lin Fan had made all preparations and was ready to self-destruct, he realized that something was off. I-oh, holy FCK, to think that the Fire Water Empress would have managed to kill off the doppelganger of Cruel's essence spirit. Stop, I can't self-destruct now. Suddenly, Lin Fan's face was stunned. Just as his powers were surging out and his arms were starting to rupture, all prepared for a big blow-up, he realized that his surroundings were starting to change. It seemed that he had managed to get out of Cruel's body. At this moment, Lin Fan's eyes were flushed red as he tried his best to retract that energy that was emanating out. He could not help but wipe the sweat off his forehead. Phew, That was too close for comfort. I nearly died for nothing. Lin Fan gasped with some stinging pain in his nuggets. If he were off in his timing by even a split second, he would have turned into nothingness. And just as Lin Fan was ready to yell out at this, he saw something happening in the distance. For some unknown reason, a light screen had appeared there. And Lin Fan was clear that this was the innate skill of the beings of the succubus race. To think that it would appear again. Didn't this mean that yours truly's face was being shown right in front of all the beings of the thousands of races once more? No, calm down. He had to calm down right now. At this moment, Lin Fan tossed his robes back. Disregarding that left arm of his that was blown off from his suicide attempt earlier on, he raised his head slightly. His eyes were imposing as he placed his hands behind his back and commented indifferently. Utmost being of the ancient race, cruel, that's all he amounted to. In the hands of the mother *C King Human King, he was still disintegrated into ashes nevertheless. The moment these words came out, the entire ancient saint world fell into silence. Chapter 639, As Time Goes By. Chapter 639, As Time Goes By. All of the beings of the thousands of races could not believe the scene that had just appeared before their very eyes. Just like that, the essence spirit doppelganger of the utmost beings Cruel was gone. Ah, the doppelganger of the utmost being, Cruel's essence spirit doppelganger has been extinguished. How did that human do it? Isn't he way too strong? Haha, this is a day worth celebrating. Long live the mother *C King Human King. FCK. All hail the mother *C King Human King. The courage of the succubus race has brought for all of us the most cathartic scene of our lives. Look at how handsome the mother *C King Human King looks just standing there. But, why is his arm gone? That battle earlier on must have been really exciting. However, in front of the mother *C King Human King, all the ancient race beings shall be smitten into dust. ... The beings of the thousands of races were exhilarated right now. They couldn't contain this heart of excitement that laid within their bodies right now. Because to them, this was something that was way too satisfying. After being repressed by the ancient race for so long, they needed a hero to stand up and face off against the ancient race. However, no matter how long they had waited, that day had never ever come. Even though there were many powerful beings within the thousands of races, some of these powerful beings had gone into hiding entirely, some of them were busy dealing with politics against one another, and others lost their guts immediately at the sound of the utmost being of the ancient race. But now, the mother *C King Human King was here. With absolute strength, he had managed to crush an utmost being of the ancient race. For any being of the thousands of races, this was an event that was thoroughly inspiring. Cloud Sect, Grand Master Yun and Meng Hengtian had been locked in perspective for some time now. At the happenings on the screen, they let out looks of astonishment as well. Grand Master, is this even real? Back when that lad was at the Cloud Sect, he was only that of a divine celestial level 4, undying state. Even the essence spirit doppelganger of the utmost being of the ancient race is divine celestial level 10, eternal God state. Meng Hengtian's heart was thumping right now. He did not know what else he should say. No matter what, everything just seemed way too surreal to him. Grand Master Yun pondered for a moment. When you're talking about a savant, you cannot comprehend them with normal logic. Seems like even we have underestimated him. Grand Master Yun did not know how else he could explain this. Therefore, the only word he could use to describe this was that he was a savant. HMPH. Even though the ancient race is strong, with the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan, around, everything shall dissipate along with the clouds. My fellow comrades of the thousands of races, do not worry. With my presence, the toppling of the ancient race isn't too far away. Lin Fan remarked with an overbearing attitude. Then, he casually jerked his body. That arm of his that was exploded away regrew out instantly. Even though Lin Fan did not know what sort of expression the beings of the thousands of races were watching this live stream with, he supposed that they should have been stunned by him. After that, Lin Fna ended the live stream. Right now, he had to cultivate. He was still left with 2,700,000,000,000 Shenyang pills. This was enough for him to manifest out all the living beings in his paradise entirely and boost his own strength. Even though his current strength right now is decent, compared to those utmost beings of the ancient race, it was still far too weak. Pishu. In the blink of an eye, Lin Fan disappeared from the face of the world. Tunneling down into a deep crevasse beneath the ground, he sat down cross-legged and entered his paradise. The residences of the utmost beings of the ancient race. Be starred. B asterisk starred. The utmost being, cruel, was screaming out right now. A boundless might erupted from him. The moment the ancient race beings standing guard outside his place felt this chilling intent of rage, they broke out in shivers. They did not know what had happened to cause their utmost being such fury, but no one dared to head in and ask. In the eyes of the utmost being, all of them were ants. As long as he was displeased in the least bit, he could have them disintegrate into dust immediately. Fire Water Empress, how dare you destroy my essence spirit doppelganger? I'll kill you. As for that human, there's no way I'm going to let you off either. Since this is the case, your utmost being here shall descend personally and hunt you out. It had been a long time since the utmost being had left this place. However, right now, he was riled by Lin Fan entirely. Since he couldn't do anything to the Fire Water Emperor, he could only vent his frustrations on that human. Instantly, a streak of rainbow rippled out. The moment that rainbow swept across the entrance of the place, all of the ancient race soldiers who were prostrating on the ground were smitten into dust immediately. The flames of rage that were burning in the heart of the utmost being, cruel right now, could only be appeased with the blood of that human. Within his paradise, Lin Fan looked at that lump of mountain of Shenyang pills that laid there. He was exceptionally gleeful right now. With these many Shenyang pills, he could definitely bring out all the living beings in his paradise for sure. Burn, burn, the connate paradise imprint floated gently in the void and emanated an alluring glow. Bam, bam, the Shenyang pills began to erupt out continuously into a Shenyang river. 2,700,000,000,000 Shenyang pills. This was an astronomical figure. Even if it were Lin Fan, if he wanted to cultivate out this many Shenyang pills, it would probably take him 10,000 years or so. Not only that, he would have to focus all his attention on just pill cultivation for the entire 10,000 years, without the energy to be able to do anything else. Shing! Suddenly, the connate paradise imprint began to vibrate upon sensing the mighty, vast Shenyang River. PSHEW! A sudden sound rang out. Within the connate paradise imprint, an image appeared suddenly. Rar, N-O, vel, B, in .c, ohm. First, it was a long dragon that was crafted. Its body was 100,000 feet long as it swiped its tail into the world. A dragon and an elephant fused together after that. Dragon-elephant, a living being that looked equal parts dragon and elephant appeared within the paradise. Its bulky body was imposingly unparalleled. Just a single look from it could cause one to feel startled immediately. This connate paradise imprint is truly a treasure. Each time a living being is manifested, the powers of the paradise would surge immediately. Under the influence of the dense Shenyang pills, the connate paradise imprint seemed as though it was in a frenzy as it shone ever more brilliantly. One by one, words started floating out of it. Each word possessed a boundless amount of energy to it. It was as though these words were from the heaven and earth itself, as they were so strong. Worm, Yang, Phoenix, ... Right now, Lin Fan was completely immersed in cultivating. The speed in which the Shenyang pills were expended was extremely fast. Even though this pained Lin Fan's heart, he knew that it would all be worthwhile. As he sensed the increment within the paradise, he felt the same growth as his powers turned thicker and fuller. With that, Lin Fan was extremely happy. Within the ancient saint world, everything revolved around one's strength. Without strength, one was nothing more than a fish on a chopping board that was free for everyone to chop it without the capability to resist at all. Outside, time gradually began to slip as well. 10 days. 1 month. 1 year. To the beings of the thousands of races, it seemed as though the mother *C King Human King had just vanished from the face of the world all of a sudden. Some of them thought that the mother *C King Human King might have died in the hands of the ancient race. Some of them thought that the mother *C King Human King might have been captured by the ancient race instead. However, most other people still chose to believe that the mother *C King Human King was camping in wait somewhere. But, no one would have guessed that under the deep crevasse beneath the ground, a monstrous entity was being nurtured and produced. Under that deep crevasse, a figure that was akin to a deity in the heavens shone with a bright light surrounding him. His body was akin to precious jewels, impenetrable by all evils. 3 years later, a formidable aura erupted forth from the ground ferociously. This unparalleled mighty aura pierced straight into the heavens. However, in that instant, it disappeared as quickly as it had appeared into nothingness. It was as though it had never even appeared. Chapter 640, Truly Forgotten by Everyone. Chapter 640, Truly Forgotten by Everyone. To think that 2,700,000,000,000 Shenyang pills would get expended to zero by me just like that. Lin Fan lamented. However, the feeling of having more than enough Shenyang pills to cultivate with was extremely wonderful as well. Before he knew it, he had been there for 3 whole years now. With that, the Konate Paradise imprint had also manifested 13,000 living beings. At this moment, Lin Fan's paradise was bustling with life, akin to a small world of its own. At the same time, the surface area of the paradise was expanding rapidly as well. Even those initially crystallized walls from before were broken away to make way for new and stronger ones to form. At this moment, Lin Fan almost had a sense of delusion about his strength. He felt as though he could rain down chaos onto the world with a single lift of his palms. PSHEW. Instantly, he tore out of the ground and floated gently in the skies. That intimidating aura, that calm expression of his, it seemed as though they had stabilized quite a bit after cultivating for 3 whole years. In fact, he seemed even more mature as a person right now. However, the moment Lin Fan opened his mouth, that entire image crumbled away immediately. While his powers might have increased, Lin Fan was still the same Lin Fan from before. Bloody balls. To think that I would have FC King disappeared from the world after going into some say FC Conclusion. 3 whole damned years. It's been so long since yours truly has trodden in the world. Who knows if everyone might have already forgotten about yours truly by now. Lin Fan thought in retrospect. However, the only feeling that Lin Fan was feeling right now was that his powers were around 100 times stronger than he ever was before. This feeling was way too scary. Divine Celestial Level 6, Lost State Beings. He could kill them with 1 punch. Divine Celestial Level 7, all to 1 state beings. He could kill them in 2 punches. Divine Celestial Level 8, Universal Elixir State Beings. He could kill them with 3 punches. After cultivating for such a long time, the true powers of his body right now were giving him a surreal feeling of hallucination. Now that things have come to this, I've got to go and find all of my Konate 5 elements. In this period of time, the big ancient demon had also been cultivating on his own. With that, his cultivation state has also rocketed upwards. If I can gather the last 2 remaining elements, I can definitely let him grow up. Who knows if he might even evolve to be an utmost treasure by then. Lin Fan did not think too much about this. He instantly delved into the void and headed into the distance. Those 8 old fogies were trained up by the Thunder Trainer King for an entirety of 1 whole year. Towards the perversion of the Thunder Trainer King, Lin Fan was helpless as well. However, in this period of time, the Shenyang pills that were cultivated out by the mythical parasol tree and the 8 old fogies were 100 million. Compared to Lin Fan in the past, this was still a great fortune. However, now that he had witnessed the 3 trillion Shenyang pills, Lin Fan's view of the world had opened up. What could this 100 million Shenyang pills amount to? Man, they were not even 1% of that sh*t. The current Lin Fan was exploding with confidence. This feeling of being filled with power from head to toe was simply way too amazing. A single fist that rained out was akin to a dragon of infinite powers. Who could be a match for him at all? To think that there are some ancient race beings up ahead. Lin Fan eyed his surroundings. Every sweep he took was around 1,000 miles away. In a desolate ground somewhere, Lin Fan caught sight of a bunch of ancient race beings who were laughing out wantonly. A group of unfortunate beings of the thousands of races had been captured. Each of their faces were terrible, without a single bit of hope in them. Who can come and save us? To think that we would have been discovered by the ancient race even after hiding so deeply. Someone must have sold us out. Damn these vicious ancient race beings. To these beings of the thousands of races, the moment they were discovered by the ancient race, the only thing that awaited them was death. There was no way out at all. Boom! Suddenly, a gigantic explosion rang out. A colossal palm descended from the sky and slapped these living ancient race beings to death instantly. Ding! Congratulations on killing desolate celestial full cultivation ancient race being. Ding! Experience points +1. ... These ancient race beings were way too weak. So weak that Lin Fan did not even feel like commenting about them at all. As for these beings of the thousands of races, those extremely horrifying ancient race beings that were before them had just disappeared in the blink of an eye. Someone's here to save us. All of a sudden, this was the only thought that struck in their minds. The moment they raised their heads into the sky, they saw a figure clad in white robes floating there. This man had his hands behind his back, and had an outstanding aura. A single glance was enough to tell that he was someone powerful. Thank you for your life-saving act, senior. The beings started prostrating on the ground, exclaiming. Lin Fan frowned, and was a little hurt in his heart. What? These comrades of the thousands of races had truly forgotten all about yours truly. Back then, yours truly was on the screen, wasn't he? All of these beings of the thousands of races must have caught sight of that as well. If that were the case, why had all of them forgotten all about him in just 3 years? In Ohm. This feeling was terrible. Highs, forget it. Who knows, maybe these beings of the thousands of races had not caught sight of that light screen back then. Lin Fan could only console himself this way. Without saying a second word, he left the place. But, a few moments after Lin Fan left, he couldn't bear it in anymore. How could he not let these living beings know about his great name? It's alright, you don't have to thank me. Yours truly is the mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan, who takes it upon myself to watch over you guys. By then, Lin Fan's figure had already disappeared. The only thing that rang out was his voice. All of those beings of the thousands of races whom he had rescued were still prostrated on the ground. Many thanks to the mother *C King Human King. By the time Lin Fna had left the place entirely, the beings of the thousands of races stood up and were excited beyond words. We're finally fine, hurry up and leave, we mustn't be caught by the ancient race beings yet again. Mother *C King Human King, Lin Fan. That name is really familiar. What familiar and what not, we had better just get out of this place first. Oh, right. Seems like after hiding from the world for 3 whole years, everyone out there has already forgotten about me cleanly. I guess I've got to start from scratch once more. Lin Fan complained in exasperation. Not long later, he came across a mysterious place. According to Fairy Hongyun's markings, before reaching the place that possesses the connate element of metal, one had to tide through an area of turbulent void. The moment one came into contact with it, they would immediately be shredded into pieces. Even if it were a divine celestial cultivation state powerful being, they would have to make the appropriate preparations first. After all, they did not know how long this chaotic current in the void would last. If they didn't have the stamina to hold it through, they would fall straight into the face of danger. This was a dangerous trial. However, Fairy Hongyun knew that this chaotic current of the void couldn't be considered as anything tough given Lin Fan's strength. At this moment, a group of people stood at the entrance of the chaotic currents of the void. They started discussing about this chaotic current here. Big senior brother, you're extremely powerful. Furthermore, your 7th metal sword will has already reached a point of unpredictability. You should most definitely be able to pave out a path for us in this chaotic current of the void here. A young man looked at the berserk chaotic currents in the void before him and remarked pretty exasperatedly. Junior brother Yi, you're going to have me dead one day with all your praises. Beware of me spanking your little buddy. Looking at his junior brother, the big senior brother replied helplessly. This fellow was just hailing praises about him all day and night. Just what sort of a place was this chaotic current void? Even if it were a powerful being of divine celestial level 5 or 6, they might not even dare to claim that they would be able to cleave out a path for everyone. Big senior brother, I'm just kidding. Alright, didn't we bring some stuff with us when we came forth this time around? We should be able to tide through this all right. Junior brother Yi replied cheekily. The surrounding masses chuckled out as well. If not for the fact that there was the ancient race in this world, how carefree would life be? Senior sister, I want to be in the same group as you later on. If I can't hold out later on, you've got to help me out, alright? Yi Dao came before his senior sister and started pleading. Gosh, each time we ask you to train up, you'll just skive your days away. Do you finally know the importance of power at a moment like this? This senior sister was sweet-looking with a petite figure. Her disposition was elegant and her cultivation state was decent as well, at divine celestial level 2, realm state. Alright, I've got it. Yi Dao shrugged his head. However, this wasn't what he was thinking in his head. Why would he have to bother with cultivating and training up with his senior brothers and sisters around? No matter what, even if the skies were to topple, they'd be able to save him with their strength. Big senior brother, senior sister, check it out. There's someone coming from the distance. He can't be from the ancient race, right? Suddenly, Yi Dao caught sight of a streak of light that had appeared in the distance as he exclaimed out in astonishment. The moment everyone heard this, their faces flushed over in unison as well. If it were truly from the ancient race, things would be disastrous.